Welcome to the AM News here on JoyNews. Now, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin has faulted the Supreme Court for giving judgment in a matter that the legislature, who was a party but which he says Parliament was not served nor heard. The Supreme Court declared as unconstitutional the law on granting license to grow cannabis, popularly known as weed. Right Honorable Bagbin says though Parliament was a party to the suit, it was never granted a hearing on the matter.
I read in the dailies again about a case that was presided over by the Supreme Court, and the judgment was given something Manam versus the Attorney General and the Speaker of Parliament. The Speaker of Parliament had no knowledge about that suit, and yet judgment was delivered by the Supreme Court, in which a section of a law we passed was struck out as unconstitutional. If the Speaker is a party to a suit, at least the Speaker should be served. There was no service on us. Maybe the Attorney General assumed that responsibility without even consulting us. And the Supreme Court proceeded to give some judgment striking out a section of a law we passed, Section 43 of the Narcotics Control Commission Act, without hearing from us. I think something is amiss, and we have to rectify it. It might be known to all that it is not in all cases that the Attorney General is sufficiently empowered to represent Parliament. So the Parliamentary Service Board took notice of that and has proceeded to engage some two firms to assist Parliament in this matter. So I don't know whether there's a representative of the Attorney General here, Minister for Justice. In the absence of that, I will direct the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, who is the majority leader and leader of the House, to inform his colleague, the Minister for Justice and Attorney General, about this matter. If there's any further need for further discussion, we are available to do so. But we must do something to close this gap, this miscommunication, and get inputs from Parliament when there are matters before the court having some impact or effect on what we do here. We should be heard.
Now, the Ministry of Health says it will continue to collaborate with the Extension Community Health Care Outcome ECHO to enhance and improve quality and healthcare delivery in the country. According to the Special Advisor to the Minister of Health on Human Resource, Dr. Bafwe, it is imperative to partner health programs such as ECHO to meet the health needs of patients. He was speaking at the official launch of ECHO Ghana Network in Accra.
ECHO Network is a system created by researchers at the University of New Mexico to provide timely training to healthcare providers on COVID-19 and other communicable diseases, while providing healthcare topics such as surveillance, diagnosis, management, and mitigation through digital means for health experts. ECHO has since been in Ghana for the past 2 years in providing mentoring and mentorship to Ghanaian health workers. Speaking at the launch of the ECHO Ghana Network, Special Advisor to the Minister of Health on Human Resource, Dr. Bafwe called on other health practitioners to take advantage of this platform and enhance their service delivery.
If they cannot, because certain logistics, they cannot move to peripheral areas, they can collaborate with the lower level staff using technology to deliver healthcare services. So it can be any form of healthcare, whether cardiology or nephrology or to other nurses, pharmacy, doctors.
On her part, CEO of Japago, Dr. Pelnanka Bruce said, Although a outfit is seeking to expand ECHO to other parts of the country, infrastructure will be key in achieving that.
For ECHO, you could say you need infrastructure, but it might not be much. The way it works, you just need, if the participant has their cell phone or they are able to just log on. But we know that sometimes there are challenges. So for instance, for these 10 hubs, we helped with the procurement and the installation of the infrastructure. So TV screens, computers, etc., where participants could go to, and where also the lecturers or whoever was teaching then could broadcast from, and then everybody would be able to receive. And so in expanding this, we would need some more infrastructure to be able to do that.
The launch brought together organizations interested in working with ECHO throughout Ghana to learn about what each organization wants to do with ECHO.
Now, President of the Ghana Certified Registered Anesthetics Association, James Winsagra, is concerned about the increasing attrition rate of anesthetics for greener pastures outside the country. He mentions, among other things, the lack of professional recognition, inadequate remuneration, and obsolete job description as the reasons why many in the profession are leaving the country. Prophet Salam has the rest of the story.
The 4th Annual General Congress and Scientific Session of the Ghana Association of Certified Registered Anesthetics was held on the theme Impact of the Certified Registered Anesthetics in the Health Delivery System, the Law and Practice. The participants were drawn from all 16 regions in the country to take stock of their activities, challenges, with a view to finding solutions to them. Upper West Regional Chairman of the Ghana Certified Registered Anesthetics, CRA, Peter Paul Der, in his welcome address, shared out statistics of various anesthesia services undertaken by members of the association in the region, despite the low number of 27 against a region's population of over 900,000 people.
The Upper West region is one of the most deprived regions in Ghana, with 6 district hospitals, 2 charge facilities, 4 polyclinics, few private facilities, and a regional hospital. In all these facilities, only 27 CRAs are providing anesthesia services day and night to all manner of medical and surgical conditions, with an estimated population of 901,502, occupying a geographical area of 18,476 square kilometers.
Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz bin Sali is not happy with the low number of anesthetics in the region, urging for more to be posted.
I am shocked to hear that only 27 of you are serving in my beloved Upper West region, which is woefully inadequate. I pray that the Ghana Health Service will post many of your kind to the region to bring proper healthcare delivery to the people of the Upper West region. Many hospitals and health centers are springing up which require the service of certified registered anesthetists. Let me use this opportunity to appeal to the Ghana Health Service to consider posting more certified registered anesthetists to the Upper West region to augment your numbers.
National President of the Certified Registered Anesthetics, James Mansara, laid bare the challenges faced by the CRA.
Lack of professional recognition is a challenge in ours. Many people tend to forget about certified registered anesthetists, even when you are practicing in the theater, until there's a problem, then they begin to know that you play a vital role in trying to come to their aid. Inadequate remunerations. The current launch scope of practice is a worrying situation. Absolute job description, and then I think that in the single spine salary structure, we're not actually properly fixed into context.
He also spoke about the attrition rate of anesthetics for greener pastures, warning that if care is not taken, the profession will be wiped out in the not too distant future from the country.
If you you go into the Ghana health sector, I think statistics will show that the brain drain that people are exiting in the health sector, mostly I think the certified registered anesthetists is worse hit. The profession has lost its value because of some of these things. And regrettably, many find their way outside the country. If care is not taken, I'm not a prophet of doom, but I want to believe that, or I want to state that anesthesia profession will come to extinct.
Director General of the Ghana Health Services, Dr. Patrick Kumabuaji, in a speech read on his behalf by the Upper West Regional Director of the Ghana Health Services, Dr. Damien Pouiri, underscored the important role the CRA is playing in health service delivery.
I am aware that many of you are currently working under serious resource limitations, including poor infrastructure, ill-equipped operating theater spaces, and inadequate logistics. Notwithstanding, you are putting up your best to ensure the sustenance of surgical services throughout the country. The Ghana Health Service recognizes your invaluable contribution to service delivery in the country.
Former Dean of the UDA School of Medical Sciences, Dr. Edward Jederi, chaired the function.
Anesthesia started really in the world in 1846, officially. And within our own territory here, we still have health institutions, we still have people operating without anesthetists. But I think that you have come to better the services, the health delivery services in this country, especially with the surgical component.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafik Salam. Wow.
Now, Sanko Gold and GIZ are leading a campaign on maternal and child health, including infection prevention at Manso Adobia in the Amanse South District of the Ashanti region. The project is to increase the economic and health resilience within the catchment communities of the private partners in the mining industry. This will ensure they are better prepared to withstand future pandemics.
The Maternal and Child Health Campaign is under the COVID-19 pandemic management in times of COVID-19 and beyond. A GIZ jointly implemented project with Sanko Gold, one of several private partners, and funded through the Develop PPP program on behalf of the German Federal Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development. The theme for the campaign is Save a Mother, Save a Child, and Save Yourself. Ms. Mary Bonsu is a technical advisor, Develop PPP Health, GIZ.
So it's a pleasure for us to be here, GIZ, in this event or launch of maternal health, child and maternal health campaign. And the campaign is part of many activities lined up for the pandemic project in catchment communities and beyond. This project, as I initially said, started in 2021 September. It's a 3-year project which will run until August 2024. And one of the activities is this maternal and child health campaign. And you see a lot of health personnel being trained for the partners in the project. It's not only for Sanko, they're also going to train health personnel for Anglo Ashanti or Boasi, who will train for Anglo Ashanti, Iduaprim, and Golden Star. And for the health personnel training, it also comes with a campaign where people in the communities will benefit by listening in the radios and community information centers and getting knowledge about how to prevent infection for children and women in childbearing age in this era of COVID-19 and beyond.
Mr. Banua Titiati is the acting head of Department Safety, Health and Security at Sanko Gold.
So we have always ensured that we partner with the host communities that we work in to ensure they are in good health, and we create a sustainable environment for them. So this particular one is focusing on infection prevention and control. So it's in that light that we are doing this program. And we are partnering with GIZ, just as we have done in all other initiatives, to make sure that it's successful. We care for the community, and we always want to make sure that whatever their needs are, we try to meet it. And that's our value as a SAMCO.
The launch was attended by representatives of Amansia South and West District Health Directorates and selected nurses and midwives in their respective districts. Acting District Director of Health Services, Amansia South, Randy Osebwache, was optimistic the program will lead to better health outcomes.
Once our staffs are being trained on infection prevention, basically they acquire the skills, the protocols of infection prevention. It helps prevent or limits the number of nosocomial infections in the facilities. And it's a very good start for the district. So we thank JIZ, Asanko and ProLink for this wonderful campaign that they have brought into our district.
Reporting for JoyNews, Kwesi Deborah.
Now, the Ghana Journalists Association says it will work to ensure that it builds the capacities of journalists across the country to make them live up to the tenets of the profession. President of the association, Albert Jomfor, says his administration has already initiated moves to ensure the professional development of journalists in the country. Speaking at a courtesy call on the president of the Global Peace Mission and Kwa Mixture, Professor Samuel Kojo, the GJA president indicated that as part of the rebranding of the association, Ghanaians and the global community would witness an attractive GJA award this year.
As newly elected leadership of our great and noble fraternity, there is the need for us to fraternize and to pay courtesy call on some key partner institutions. For all of us, we all know that the professional development of journalists is very key, important. And this tops my commitment and our commitment. And as an administration or new administration, we are poised to do everything to develop and build the capacity of journalists in making sure that journalists perform professionally and exhibit good ethical conduct. And as the saying goes, he said, garbage in, garbage out. Reason, education, or on the job training or capacity training workshop is very key and important. If we want to curb this menace of false news publication, yellow journalism, this is the way to go. Rebranding of the association, which started with the review of the awards. When we assumed post, we put together a team of experienced journalists, veterans, to review the over 25 awards. And as we speak, it is giving our awards a new feel. We want the Juja Awards to be very attractive and appealing to not only journalists, but to also our partners and corporate bodies and stakeholders.
And that's how we wrap up today's AM news here on JoyNews. There is more on the AM show, so stay with us for us to go through it. My name is Samuel Kojo Brace. Do have a great morning. All right, so welcome back to the show. It's time for us to go into the papers to review what the papers are reporting today. I have the Daily Graphic, the Ghanaian Times, the Daily Guide newspaper, the Finder, and the Republic Press here with me. Now, if you look at the Daily Graphic, the front page, it says, YEA to recruit 15,000 community protection assistants. IOCO joins task force to grow mineral royalties. Uphold our third largest city status. Takoradi constituents appeal. And it comes with a photograph of the new market circle, which is under construction, an aerial view of it. Also, media freedom paramount, according to precedent. Okay, so let's go into it. We will be joined on the line by poster and editor of the Daily Dispatch, Ben Efson, shortly so we can go into the details of it. Now, the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has stated that media freedom and the safety of journalists are paramount. Now, he explained that journalists had to feel free and safe to go about their work because what they did for the country and the community was extremely important. President Akufo-Addo made the observation when the leadership of the Ghana Journalists Association, GJA, led by its president, Albert Kwabena Jomfo, paid a courtesy call on him at the Jubilee House in Accra last Wednesday evening. The GJA executives were at the presidency to introduce themselves to the president, discuss issues pertaining to the media landscape, and invite him to the GJA Awards scheduled for Saturday, November 12th this year. Now, the government's team included a chief of staff, so that's those who met the journalists there. Now, on press freedom, the president said he preferred the current kind of press in the country, which was very active and vibrant, especially its diversity and proliferation, which had made journalists present in every corner of the country. Now, he reiterated the fact that there could be no press freedom if systematically journalists were always afraid for themselves about what they said. And quote, "I don't condone any attacks on any journalist, even those who abuse me," he said, noting that he preferred a noisy and mischievous press to a sycophantic one. Oh, okay. So, I mean that the president enjoys the firing that the media gives him. That's good to know. Now, the president described as unfortunate the fact that in spite of very widespread efforts made by the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service, it had not been able to lay hands on Swale's killers. He said it was worrying because without the findings, it was difficult to ascertain the reasons behind the killing, whether it was because of his work as a journalist or for other reasons. And you know, Ahmed Swale's death really caught the attention of the world. Many journalist associations around the globe have called on the government to do something to help, and they have decried the circumstances surrounding Ahmed Swale's death. It's something that leaves a blot on Ghana's image internationally. And I wonder why the CID, with all their expertise, have still not been able to come to or get to the bottom of this particular matter and to identify who are the killers and what motive was behind that particular heinous crime. But let's see how it goes. The police should probably, because the police cannot tell us that with all the expertise, they have not been able to get to the bottom of it. They have to. Now, the president also opined that the concept of responsible journalism was extremely important for the welfare of the country, and that most people were sensitive to the capacity of the media to generate their own information. He said the media's capacity and position to independently verify the truth or otherwise of what state actors and others had said for the population, not to be denied any informed scrutiny, were crucial. So that's what the president said. I'm staying on this because it borders on the very people who represent your voice. Journalists are voices for the voiceless. Now, regarding the decline in the ratings of the country on the Press Freedom Index, the president wondered why it was like that, because he did not know of many countries in Africa with such proliferation of independent media as pertained in Ghana. When the Minister of Information, Kojo Brace, explained that the country's downgrading was because the matrix was more about the welfare of journalists, the president said, and I quote, "If it is about the conditions of journalists, well, I can understand it," end of quote. That was because journalists in Ghana were notoriously not well paid, and that it was the collective responsibility of all to ensure that the challenge was addressed, he said. The president assured the association that he would grace the GJA award. So that's on the press freedom then, what President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo said. On the story about YA recruitment, I think this was even one of the stories we dealt with here on the show yesterday. But of course, let me take you to Takoradi, Western Region, the capital of Western Region, Sekondi, Takoradi, and get to hear what the residents in Takoradi constituency are saying. Now, this story was written by Moses Doche Kobla Aklobato. He wrote the story. Now, it boasts of the redevelopment of the famous Takoradi Market Circle and the construction of a 4-tier interchange at the PTC roundabout. Now, what are the people there saying? While some traders are of the view that the link road to the central business district should be given equal attention to ensure free flow of traffic in the area, the concern of fishermen has been that the lack of premixed fuel for fishing. Okay. The secretary to the chief fisherman of New Takoradi, John Kwamina Atuabo, said the challenge they face currently was lack of premixed fuel. Quote, "We understand it's not only us, but something across the coast," he said in an interview with the Daily Graphic. Okay, so that's one part of what the people there said. Now, in terms of other things that are happening, they also said that they know that what's happening in the construction of the market circle, the interchange is good, but other things need to come in. Now, for example, the communications director of the NDC, Kirk Mensah, said the interchange and the redevelopment were nothing new. Oh, really? These are projects that were on the drawing board for some time now, he stated. When it comes to the project that impact the lives of the people, the NDC has a superior pedigree. Okay. Now, members of the NPP said the ongoing project were a game changer for the 2024 elections and that a project would speak for themselves. Mr. Daku Mensah, who is the regional minister, said, and I quote, "As MP for the people of Takoradi, I would roll up my sleeves and follow every project in my constituency to make sure it is completed. Again, as the regional minister, I will follow the same project across the region for the benefit of the people." Interesting. So let's see. Let's see how this also goes. But, I mean, if you go to Takoradi now, for those of you who do not know what's happening, at the PTC roundabout, which is popularly called the Nkrumah roundabout, Goyle, or you say Ajib, the interchange is speedily really coming up. I mean, when I went there the other time, the last floor of the interchange was completed. I mean, you could see that, yeah, this is really an interchange coming up there. And it made the place look a little beautiful, even though the construction had not completed. So that's happening. Sekondi Takoradi, the road from Park Grant to Sekondi, I'm told a contractor is on site. I have not seen it, so I cannot talk much about it. So that, and then the market circle redevelopment is also progressing readily. It is also progressing speedily. So that's what's happening. But we've been joined on the line by poster and editor of the Daily Dispatch, Uncle Ben Efson. We call him Uncle because he's really been around for a long time. Uncle Ben joins us on phone. Uncle, good morning. How are you doing?
Oh, good. I'm fine. How are you too?
I am well. Sometimes I feel I should do fancy with you, but yeah, because of where we are. Anyway, let's begin from the Daily Graphic and speak about the president talking about media freedom being paramount in the country. Now, he says that the freedom of the media to operate is very, very paramount, and that the media should have that freedom to operate and never should be afraid of themselves for what they are doing. He says he enjoys a noisy media compared to a sycophantic one. Your thought?
I think that I'm going to watch my words well, and I'll try and be as frank as possible. Politicians are some way. You know, yes, for example, when they are in opposition, the media, we are their darling people. And when they are in power, they see us as like trying to get at them. You understand? So, yes, on the scale of hate or like, they will kind of like us. Because when you are in power, the media is more likely to step on your toes than when you are in opposition. You know, Like you said, this is my 48th year. I started when I was 17 years. So I've seen military governments, I've seen the two main parties in and out. Yes, we may have our faults, but I think that the Ghanaian media will have to be proud of themselves. They have to be proud of themselves. So yes, media freedom is found. Obviously, there are deviants, there are people who will go astray, but I think that the Ghanaian media, we've done quite well. Not that you are infallible, but we've done quite well. We've done quite well.
But if you look at the current dispensation, where you hear a lot of people say, we are even afraid of what to say, does it really, sync with what the president is saying, that, I'm not perturbed, you can say whatever you want to say because I even enjoy it? Do you think we are in an environment where journalists have that freedom to really do their work without fear?
You see, the fear will be there. The fear will be there, but, if you've lived and worked under a military government before, you see, that is why when I hear people talking about who, I laugh. If you've lived and worked under a military government before, if you are in your right frame of mind, you will never wish for a coup. Because I believe that if Party A is in power and that party is doing something you don't like, or leaders in that party are doing something you don't like, join the opposition party and campaign against that party to lose power. But to wish for a coup, you haven't lived in it before. So the option is not a coup. The option is campaign against that party which is doing something you don't like. And you don't open your mouth and say you wish there is a coup. Forget about the party in power. You are talking about people who will be picked up because you've said something that in a media space where there's a constitution from a government, you'll be taken to court. Do you understand?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there are times that I believe that I always tell many of my colleagues that we should find time and try and put some of our experiences in a book so that people will be reading it to see that no matter the faults that the media have, working in this space called democracy is the best for a country. I mean, I'm 65. I spent my 30th birthday in 5 months solitary confinement. And I'm not alone. Go back to Christy Pratt, Graham. There's no option. So when I hear people who are supposed to know better wish for a coup, I just think that I'm on air, so I will reserve my word. But I think that if you disagree that, look, this government is clamping down on the media, start campaigning against them. But don't wish for a coup.
Interesting. Now, on Ahmed Swale, the president described as unfortunate the fact that in spite of every widespread effort made by the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service, it had not been able to lay hands on Swale's killers. He said it was worrying because without the findings, it was difficult to ascertain the reasons behind the killing, whether it was because of his work as a journalist or for other reasons. In this Ahmed Swale issue, this has been too long a time. What does it tell you as a journalist that all these years the police have not been able to get to the bottom of this particular matter?
I think that Ahmed Swale, unfortunate demise is a blot on our media space and attempts to try and find the killers. I believe that it's quite some time, but I have hope that not too far away, we'll be able to find why that gentleman lost his life. Because whoever would have planned it, perhaps would have covered his tracks well. But the main instigator, he hasn't got infinite life. And when that person is sick, or perhaps is not in a position to pay money or silence the perpetrators, something will come up. That is what the hope I have in this Swale case. Because I suspect that perhaps those who did it may not be in the country. They've been sent somewhere. And there must be somebody who should be keeping them where they are. Because I know that the police are doing their best. But when, for example, the perpetrators are not in the country, it makes it more difficult. But I have hope that one day those persons, somebody will slip. Because I know that it's always the block on the media space in this country.
All right, let's get into the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Now it says BOG closes down 2 forex bureaus for flouting forex exchange rules. Speaker unhappy with Supreme Court for ruling without consulting House. President to address nation on economic challenges Sunday. Transport fares up by 19%. Public expresses mixed reactions. Now, some members of the public have expressed mixed reactions to the increment in public transport fares and have called for the reduction in the 19% increment announced. The GPRT agreed on that rate at a meeting with President Nana-Addo last Tuesday. However, some members of the public in an interview with the Ghanaian Times yesterday maintained that despite the frequent increment of fuel prices, the decision to increase transport fares by 19% was uncalled for due to the high cost of living in the country. With the increment by 19%, they say that they went in with 40%. The government was able to get them to agree to a 19%, but the public says this is uncalled for. What do you have to say to this?
Fuel prices, they go up and down, but at times it goes very high. Now, imagine you're a driver and you do sales of maybe 30 cedis or let's say 50 cedis a day. You have to buy fuel, lubricants, oil, expensive, fuel is gone up. The mechanic that you go, he goes to the market, so he will charge you more. I've always said that our neighbors, Nigeria, they be producing oil far more than us. They produce far more oil. If you go to a party in Nigeria, the souvenir they give you is a gallon of fuel.
Hey.
Yes.
Wow.
A gallon of fuel. I mean, when you are going to the party, like if you travel to Lagos, for example, and it's a weekend, and a friend says, so Kojo, I'm going to a party, let's go. And he does not tell you, he forgets to tell you that this is what happens. So a friend sent me a video, I was doubting it. When you enter the place, you will see some policemen and so on around a certain place. So the video, you see the Ghanaian and the Ivorian asking their friend why. Instead, oh, this is where they stored gallons of fuel. So the video later on, when you are leaving, then they will just give, so that somebody who is smoking or something does not get nearer. That is how bad it is. So it's a difficult choice of maybe fuel being increased and being available so that people can manage it, or not being, because I can tell you that when fuel is not available, if let's say diesel now is about 70 cedis or 68 cedis, when it's not available, the black marketeers will get access to it and they will sell it 120, 150. People will buy, and the price, transport fares will balloon more than more. So yes, I sympathize with people that the transport fares will mean a dent in their budget. But the other scale, especially when I saw that video, I was doubting it, is when you get to a party in a place like Nigeria, the souvenir they give you is a gallon of fuel. So it's a very uncomfortable situation that I'm sure, yes, the public, they are right to complain. And I think that if you look at it, I mean, if you go to this another video, a friend's wife shot and showed it to my friend. My friend sent it to me. They usually send it to me so that if I can do a story out of it or something like that. If you go to the market today and you are asking for a price, let's say a gallon of oil has been the most increased, about 800%. And you tell the person to reduce it for you. You go 20 minutes, by the time you come, but the price has gone up. That is how the situation is now. So we are in difficult times, and I think that while people are complaining, they must also think that if there's a clampdown, the castles are grounded, you have to walk to work, or black marketeers will get the fuel. That is the situation I see now.
If government says I'm working on it, I'm doing something to ensure that the economy gets back to normal for the conditions to be normalized. What's your faith level in the interventions that government is putting in to ensure that the economy has been bettered in a way?
You know, the FPP government is a bit lucky at the occurrence at this time. Because if this time was 2023, they will know that their chances in 2024 is fan miscarriage. Because a year by this time, if this is the situation, they are going to have difficulties in breaking the they know that, and I know the work I've done on the 2020 election so far. When you have a country that a third are swing voters, you, the government, you play with your own political picture if you don't bend backwards to try and solve the issue. Because it is only a swing voter who will go to a polling station, vote for the parliamentary candidate of the opposition party, and vote for the presidential candidate of the ruling party. But with this being a third, Nana Akufo-Addo, he struggled to be president, and he knows what it is. If a year by this time the situation has not improved, you know, let them give you a typical example. You see, many people did not understand the NDC MP being against the E-levy. You are getting many people say, but NDC, what is wrong with them? If the thing is so bad, why don't they let the NPP government pass it so that people are popular and they take political advantage? The NDC MPs were smart. I understood them where they were coming from. That if they make so much noise and the e-levy becomes unpopular and the e-levy target is not hit at, the government will go to the IMF.
Yeah.
And they succeeded. The going to the IMF has some psychological downturn that it is bad. The government's political future will change if the IMF by the first 2 months of next year or by the end of this year, the IMF negotiations go well. And a year by this time, things have improved a bit better. 2024 will be very interesting because the NDC, they are going to have their share of instability. Given one, especially the chairmanship race is likely to divide the party. And for example, the demand by people in the Volta region that John Mahama must take his running mate from the region because over the last 3 elections, the NDC's vote in the Volta region has dropped by 6.6%. So next year is going to be interesting, getting towards 2024.
Interesting, because good you went there, because I was going to ask you, since you have a lot of knowledge in that area, how this will impact on the chances of the government, but you've explained so well. Now, the Speaker is unhappy about the ruling by the Supreme Court about cannabis. Now, he is saying that they brought a law giving permission for people to cultivate cannabis in Ghana. But the Supreme Court says it has struck out that law that sought to legalize cannabis cultivation in Ghana. But the Speaker says that was done without, the consultation of the House because they were party to that suit, but they were never heard. Is that, well, somebody will say that by the tenet of law, you needed to have heard everybody. But in this case, could we say that indeed the Speaker is right and the Supreme Court is wrong?
These arms work independently to the good of the country. And I believe that it was a blip because if the court knew that Parliament had passed a law giving a space for the cultivation of cannabis, and somebody had gone to court, I'm sure there must have been some misrepresentation that our justices were not in the know, because I'm sure that they would have made Parliament a part. And if Parliament knew, I'm sure they would have joined in the suit, because the person who went to court to try and get that declaration, obviously there's a lobby within the country that have been able to lobby their MPs and so on to see. And I believe that the Parliament will have to try and liaise the judiciary and see if maybe the decision was by 5. Once Parliament has passed that law, I believe that perhaps Parliament will have to appeal and maybe get 9 justices to try and review that ruling. If it was not 5-0, I think that Parliament may need to appeal, trying to enforce its independence.
Okay. All right, then. Let's see how that travels. Let's move to the Daily Guide newspaper. NDC MP split over General Mosquito. You alluded to this earlier, that it is likely to split the party. Here we have it. NDC MP split over General Mosquito. Probe Aisha 1 case more. AG says MPP MPs bow to pressure. Nana engages stakeholders on economy. Censorship motion restores trust in CD. That's according to Speaker. Now, members of the majority caucus in Parliament have agreed to stand down their demand for President Kufuor to sack the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, and the Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, Charles Edubuahin, until conclusion on negotiations with the International Monetary Fund, IMF. People have said that it's quite unfortunate that the majority MPs have yielded to this pressure, because people gave them the thumbs up when they really came out strongly that the Minister of Finance need to be sacked. The president says, well, let him conclude the negotiations with the IMF and present the budget. Do you think it was the right decision by the president to take, looking at the political advantage that could have been given to his party if he had followed through? Because many Ghanaians are calling for the head of the finance minister.
You know, in Britain, when that Ghanaian-born British Bisikwati was made the finance minister, the budget he prepared, he discussed it with the prime minister. When things became tough, the prime minister sacked it before she herself resigned.
Yeah.
Now, there are two sides to this, the president's appeal. You know, we had an MP writing to us, which we published a day or two ago, that, for example, if Ken Ofori-Atta is unwell and is admitted, flown over for treatment, will the president tell the IMF that my finance minister is sick, so let's hold the negotiations? Definitely one of the deputies will step in. Clearly, the president, I'm sure, would have been a bit surprised. You see, money does not like noise. And since the increases in the value of the dollar against the cedi started, I have a friend who was a forex bureau. The night before the MPs had their press conference, the cedi's value was as high as 15. And given the normal trajectory, by the end of that day, it should have gone up by a cedi or so. It stabilized at 15. It went down to 14.50. And by that following 24 hours, it had gone down to 40. And I hear said it was some places it was even 13. Now, it tells you that the constituent, the fact that NDC lost 36, the NDC won 36, but their presidential candidate lost by over 500,000 votes. The MPs are in touch with their constituents. So I think that has been a win-win situation, because nobody thought that the MPP MPs would be able to do that, and they've done it. So I think that they've met halfway. Once Ken is picked, I believe that the MPs will see why they have to give him. And that's about 2-3 weeks. And I'm sure within a month, when the negotiations are over, Ken will step down. Now, the NDC MPs being split over General Mosquito, a member of the minority had said openly that the minority in Parliament is backing General Mosquito. And the statement signed by Haruna Idrisu said that it was not true, and that MP had apologized to the minority caucus. Now, the intel I've had is that the LDC intends to pick an Akan presidential candidate for 2028. That is why I suspect General Mosquito is contested.
Okay.
And from the media missiles so far from these two, perhaps the third candidate, Nyama Asite, could exploit the pending acrimony. That look, if you give to one of them, supporters, because both of them have influence and roots at the party grassroots. So the NDC, like I said, is also facing the possibility, apart from the possible split in loyalties down to the grassroots between these two leading members, Mahama also will have his hands full how to satisfy the demand of their World Bank that they want the running mate. To all intents so far, it looks like Mahama will keep his 2020 running mate, Professor Nana. But how Mahama deals with the pressure from Volta region, these two things could be interesting towards 2024.
Interesting. Let's conclude with your own paper, the Daily Dispatch. MPP MP challenges Speaker's ruling on Dom Kwabenya's seat at the Supreme Court. 100,000 teenagers give birth in Ghana annually. That's according to the NPC. I prefer a noisy and mischievous press to a sycophantic one, President Akufo-Addo says. It is not true the Minority Caucus is supporting Asiedu Nketia Haruna Idrisu. That's what you just said. But quite interesting is the 100,000 teenagers giving birth in Ghana annually. That's huge. How can we tackle this, really?
My brother, it boils down to poverty. If you look at, for example, statistics, the population council, I think that over the last 3-4 years, statistics, those in central region have done well in trying to at times give the occupations of those who put the teenage girls in the family way. And it's interesting. Majority are teachers, taxi drivers, and farmers. It tells you is the need and want. At that time, the teenagers are so young to think about family planning. They want something, their parents cannot do it, so these gentlemen will not be in a position to even say that what I'm doing is wrong, so let me take precautions. And you see that majority of those teenagers who give in, not because of fear, my brother. It is because, for example, he's going to school, money for transportation or daily money. I mean, taxi driver will be able to take you, drop you at school. Maybe he'll pick you at the junction, give you a free ride. When you close, you pick and drop you. So the child working for hours is not thinking about it. I mean, when I saw the National Population Council data, that is why I put it there, 100,000 teenagers. These are documented ones. Giving birth every year, the country needs to sit up. Otherwise, you are going to have a situation where, because when you are these teenagers, when they give birth, it means that over 90% their education is truncated. The men will not usually even take care of the children for them to go to school. Because if one of the advantages I found out from the free researchers, that is what gave Akufo-Addo the victory, is that, I mean, once you get free researchers education, you have a little bit of education that will help you learn a trade or something.
Exactly.
But if you don't go to school at all, you are doomed. Even those who have gone to school, they are suffering. So I believe that the teenagers, the court, the police should be able to prosecute these people who put these teenagers in that way.
All right. Uncle Ben, I'm so grateful that you could join us on the AM show this morning. Ben Efson is the poster and editor of the Daily Dispatch newspaper. Now, in sports, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi hosts former president of the Ghana Football Association, Kwesi Nyantechi, as he speaks on Prime Take on his journey to football and his style of leadership and management of the Ghana Football Association.
Mr. Nyantechi, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you
How are you
for
doing?
the opportunity. I'm good. And you?
I'm also doing well. It's been
Nice.
a while.
Yeah. A day like another.
You've disappeared a bit from the football space.
Yes. I've gone underground.
Talk to us briefly. How did you get into football?
for some of us, I think out of interest and passion, I used to play football when I was young.
Wow.
Yes. Growing up a while, I used to play football. And that earned me the accolade polo due to my immense skills in
Just
dribbling.
like Mohamed Polo?
All those polos in the world or in Ghana were named after Mohamed Polo.
Wow.
Yes, Mohamed Polo had a lasting effect or impression on up-and-coming football talents dotted across the country.
Yeah.
Every community in Ghana, not every town, every community in Ghana had a polo. For instance, in Accra, maybe you went to Dansoma, you find a polo at the Braka.
So it will be Dansoma Polo?
Yes. So you come to Wa, you
so
find...
you were...
No, I was not the only polo in Wa. There were other polos. Different sections of the town had polos.
Oh, okay.
If you could dribble like 3 people on the stretch and... and that was to recognize you as a budding talent for the future, and also christening you after the greatest footballer of the time when we were growing up was Mohamed Polo.
So that's how you got into football?
Then in school, I played a bit, but not. This was just playing football as a pastime occupation, and also trying to express yourself in the game. Then we became followers of football. I remember there was a team in Wa called Upper West Heroes. Most of the players, the core players of the team, were the core team of Wa Secondary School.
Oh, wow.
So all of us became natural supporters of Upper West Heroes.
Upper West Heroes,
so Maso Kunedi was one of them, Nuru Ahmed was one of them, Gaspar Dere was one of them, and many others. Even Kwame Ayu, you know.
Oh, okay.
And so in 1989, when that team qualified to the Premiership, then I was in Legon. We used to go to the stadium to watch them anytime they came around to play matches. Then after school, I became the Accra rep for that team.
Oh, okay.
Upper West Heroes.
Oh, okay.
Then I became the vice chairman of the club, and then that was my story of progressing into mainstream football administration.
So that was the genesis of you getting into the football space?
That's correct. Then in 2005, so when Upper West Heroes folded up, I formed a team in Wa called Wa All Stars in 2005. Right from 2nd division, it was promoted to the first division, and then to the Premiership in 2007. And Upper West Wa All Stars remained in the Premiership up to 2018. And for all this time, I was actively engaged in football. So as rep of Wa All Stars, in 2000 and as rep of Upper West Heroes in 2001, there were elections in Galka, and I contested and became an executive member of Galka as the representative for Division 1 clubs. And then in 2004, I contested another election in Galka as the vice chairman, which is equivalent to the vice president of
the GFA?
GFA. The vice chairman of Galka was the vice chairman of
the GFA then?
The GFA, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
This was a structure similar to what operates in England and South Africa. And in South Africa, the chairman of the league becomes the vice chairman of the FA. And then in England, the chairman of the club rep becomes the vice chairman of the FA. So that was the kind of structure until 2005, when a total overhaul of the architecture for football management in Ghana was reviewed, and a new structure put in place where we had the FA president and executive committee members. So I contested election in December 2005 and got elected as the first president under the new statute, which have remained in force up to date.
At what point did you feel that, no, I could become the GFA president?
I believe that when I became the vice chairman, of Galka and also vice chairman of the FA, on a few occasions I acted as the chairman. And when the chairman unceremoniously resigned, I became the acting chairman So in that position, I gathered some experience. In the office of the chairman, and that metamorphosed into the president.
And many people said you were very young around that time.
Maybe, considering that before me, there were far older people who
had occupied
the position.
Yes.
Even in 2005, when I attended the FIFA Congress in Morocco, I remember, and I was introduced as the vice chairman then. Then the delegations even from Europe were represented by very old people who were in their 70s.
Wow.
They marveled that somebody in his 30s could be vice chairman of the federation. And it was unimaginable. But it is because at that time, football had probably been entrusted into the hands of very old people.
Yes.
People went into it after retirement. But with time, the realization has dawned on all of us that we probably need to inject newer blood, younger people, more energetic people to assume the reins of authority in football and give it the dynamism and vibrancy that it deserves.
Tell us how you won that 2005 GFA elections.
Oh, it's a long story. It's a long story. I was lucky that I had a lot of clubs backing me. I was then the vice chairman and acting chairman, and a lot of people thought that they could entrust the destiny of the game as far as management was concerned into my hands. They saw what I did. Before that, even I used to do a lot of pro bono cases at the FA, defending clubs at the discipline committee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did a lot
because of your legal background.
Yes. So I had a lot of relationships with clubs, you know, and they thought that if I was elevated higher the ladder, I could be more useful to them. And I also serve on a lot of committees at the FA, many ad hoc committees on issues, salaries of staff, regulations of the FA, issues like commissions of inquiry in the nature of that. I remember non-payment of 10% due the GFA by some clubs, including the Olympics. I chaired that committee. I also serve on the legal committee of the FA. I serve on Division 1 League Board. I serve on the executive committee before becoming, So I serve on the appeals committee. At that time, the appeals committee was constituted by some appointed members who were outside football and some members from the executive council on account of their background in football.
Oh, okay.
So I also serve on the appeals committee when Justice I.R. Abuaje was the chairman.
Oh, okay.
So I had a lot of experience.
Your life has been football, isn't it?
Yes, I spent the best part of my youthful life
in football.
In football.
Then and neglecting what you rather studied in school, which is the law.
Yeah, it's true. But I think that as a lawyer, wherever you find yourself, it's the same mentality that you apply.
Oh, okay.
It's not, law has so many facets.
Yeah.
You can be a lawyer without even going to court. Advocacy is just one aspect of it.
Oh, okay.
Some people do corporate legal practice in their offices, advising clients, drafting agreements and opinions here and there. And it's also another form of legal practice.
Oh, okay.
Some people remain in the banks as bank lawyers. Some are with the local authorities. Some are with corporate, what's it called, state institutions.
Yes.
Yeah, all of them. Wherever you are, it's the same mindset, the same training, the same standards and skills that you acquire. You apply them wherever you are.
Within this very window, when you became the GFA president, that was the first time Ghana qualified to participate in the FIFA World Cup. 2006 was a maiden edition that Ghana took part in, and then there was the 2010, there was the 2014 World Cup. Talk to us about how you were able to secure that qualification to the FIFA World Cup. How did you do it? Because we had so many quality players who never secured a ticket at the Mundial.
That's correct. I think that the team that qualified Ghana to the World Cup in 2005 was one of the best not necessarily the best up to that time.
Yeah.
There could have been better teams in the 90s that did not get the opportunity to qualify.
Yeah.
But a number of factors contributed to the successful story that was told in 2005. I believe that the government of the day did a great job.
Okay.
The president at the time, realizing that Ghana had never been to the World Cup, in spite of the
quality,
talent that we had in abundance, set up a big committee, I think a 15 or 16 member committee.
which was just a World Cup committee?
Yes, World Cup committee.
Wow.
But it didn't work. But the government was very committed.
Oh, okay.
President Kufuor at that time decided to introduce some incentives to the team to motivate them to do their best.
Yes.
I remember that per diem for the team used to be half of what they earned subsequently. It was not $100 a day, but it was $50. He doubled it.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, he made an announcement at the Accra Sports Stadium on the eve of the team's trip to Ouagadougou to start the World Cup campaign, and the bonuses were tripled. Then, not bonuses, the
per diem.
The per diem was doubled.
Yeah.
Then the bonuses, I don't know whether there was a structured bonus scheme before 2005. But what happened in 2005 was that the bonus was more or less performance-based.
Oh, okay.
So government decided, bonuses were a meager sum of money. Government decided to increase it to, I think it was $1,000. They increased it to $2,000.
Wow.
Yes. And then just around the corner, we signed a sponsorship with our major sponsor, Gold Force Ghana Limited.
Yes.
So from the sponsorship, the GFA added another $1,000 to the
sponsor.
$3,000 was the bonus for the match. So we lost our first match in Ouagadougou, if you recall.
Yes, yes.
Then we had to play our second match here against South Africa.
South Africa.
Yeah. And the bonus was announced as $3,000. You know.
So money was at the forefront of motivating the team.
One of, because money is quantifiable, you can easily say, but it was not at the forefront.
Oh, okay.
I'm just telling you one of the contributory factors
to how Ghana qualified for the World Cup.
But I also believe that management was really at the forefront.
Oh, okay.
Because we brought some dynamism and modern management practices into the running of the team.
The game.
At that time, we said, let's run the Football Association and the Black Stars like any private company. We apply all the principles that we learn in business school and make sure we motivate, we plan well, we coordinate things, you know, and ensure that we get the best out of these players. So we used to engage them a lot. We had meetings with players, their bonuses, their earnings, their conditions for engagement with the team were all discussed and agreed with them. So more or less a social contract was signed between us. Yes. So if you ask Stephen Appiah, Lai Kingston, Gordon Atram, John Mensah, John Pintle, Mike Lesian, Sule Muntari, Asamoah and Co., they will tell you the kind of engagements that we had with them. Beside that, we were lucky to have all these things. We also had a committed group of young men who were interested in dying for their country.
For the country.
If we look at the trajectory of progress of the team, you will see that a lot of them progressed from the under-17 in the 90s.
Yes.
Then the under-20 team that went to the World Cup in 2001.
2001, Argentina.
Some of them played at the Mali tournament in 2002.
Yes.
And then in 2004, some of them were also playing for the Olympic team. 2005, they were ripe to play for the national team and deliver. They were at the prime of their careers. Yeah. Mike Lesian had just joined Chelsea. For a transfer fee of 24 million pounds. You know, a record by then.
Yeah.
And they were all at the prime, the peak of their careers. You know, so we had a very good team. We had a technical team led by this Serbian.
Djukovic.
Yes.
Ratomir Djukovic.
Ratomir Djukovic was also very committed with the rest of his technical team, the medical team, the team psychologists, and so forth and so on.
But
I think that the country also did us a favor by rallying their support around the team.
Okay.
The euphoria around the country then was that we must qualify. This was our time.
Yes.
This was our time. And so the media, the general citizenry, and everybody was interested in seeing this team qualify. And by the grace of God, we did qualify.
As an inexperienced team, because this was the first time the team was going to the World Cup, I remember in the group of Italy, Czech Republic, US, people were like, oh, we're going to be knocked out within the first round. How did you prepare for that tournament and to ensure that we were able to secure qualification beyond the group stage?
Yes, I've always said it that planning, as I told you, good management practices, planning is key.
Yeah.
And we needed to plan well because we were really underdogs.
Yes, we were.
Many did not give us a dog's chance. They didn't think that Ghana was capable of coming out of the group.
Yeah.
This was a group made up of Czech Republic, which was number 2 at the time
in the world.
the world.
Yeah.
Then you had
Italy,
which was number 6 at the time. And the USA was like 11th or 12th at the time.
Yes.
We were languishing down the ladder of FIFA ranking. and that underdog status was what really propelled our team, because there wasn't so much attention and focus on us. But we concentrated on doing the basics and doing the right thing. So if you recall, we played 3 very good friendly matches.
Yes.
We played Turkey in Bochum. We played Jamaica in Leicester.
I recall
and then we played South Korea in one of these Scottish cities in Scotland. So by the time the World Cup was ready, we were equally ready. So we took the world by storm.
But we lost to Turkey in the final match. I do recall that game.
Yeah.
And we beat Jamaica
4-0.
4-0.
Yes.
I recall that.
South Korea 3-1.
South Korea 3-1.
Yes. That boosted the confidence of the
team.
If you recall, I think one of the goals that Suleiman Tari scored against South Korea was similar to the goal he scored against the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
That was his hallmark.
Yeah.
You know, and everything that they did on the pitch was more of a dress rehearsal, something they had done before.
How come Lai Kingston did not make that squad? Because when CAF brought the sanctions, in fact, he was one of our best players. And many had said, oh, you could have appealed. What happened? Why did Lai Kingston?
Lai Kingston, unfortunately, was suspended through the red card in Egypt.
In the game against Senegal?
Yeah, during the AFCON in 2006. Yeah. And Ghana appealed. The truth of the matter was that the appeal was filed out of time. It was filed out of time. Yes. It was filed out of time.
How did you forget to
somebody's negligence at the time. I remember this gentleman, Alex Asante, brought me the sanction in my room in the hotel at Port Said. I was then seated with Obi Amwa.
Who was the deputy
sports minister. Then I asked Alex to hand over the document to another official to handle. And then we all concentrated on other things, hoping that this thing will be done. And it was not done. So the time that we all came back to look at it, it had not been done. And the time for filing an appeal had elapsed. And when the time for filing an appeal elapses, there is no other way you can even be heard, unless you go for extension of time within which to file the appeal. But in football, we don't do extension of time to file appeal. So unfortunately, that's how Lai Kingston didn't make it to the World Cup. It was a very painful experience for us. Nevertheless, we went to the World Cup, lost the first game to Italy, but won the two subsequent games and made it to the second round.
And Czech Republic.
Unfortunately, we met the almighty Brazil. And they whipped us 3-0.
3-0.
But having been to the World Cup for the first time, we thought that the team did well by going
that
to
was
the
a success.
Yes,
that was a success.
In fact, in our business plan for 2006-2010, our target was to make it to the second round. We did achieve that target.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Yeah. Tell me briefly, it was during the 2006 World Cup that, quote unquote, many Ghanaians say was the genesis of appearance fee that came into the picture, and that resulted in the 2014 World Cup. I know we'll get there, how we prepared, and all, that's some of the story that transpired in there. Now tell us, how did the bonuses come into the picture, the appearance fee and all that? Because appearance fee, they were alien to our football.
Of course. Before we went to the World Cup, appearance fee was alien to all of us. The issue of appearance fee cropped up when we were playing the last friendly match against Korea in Scotland, Edinburgh. That's the name of the city, Edinburgh. When we went to Edinburgh, the players drew our attention based on intelligence they had gathered from their colleagues in other European teams.
So you were working with the BNI and CIDs and all that?
Including the current coach of the Black Stars.
Otoado?
Yeah, he was one of the players. And he had a lot of information because he knew all the players in the German national team. So they shared with us. They shared with their colleagues and shared with us that FIFA was going to pay some money, which has to be shared amongst players as what they call appearance fee. So we needed to tell them how much they were going to earn. So it was alien to us. Before we went to the World Cup, we hadn't made any budget for the payment of appearance fees. So quickly we had to engage them and then do a report. You remember? I remember I did the handwritten report at the time and sent it by fax. Email was not popular.
Yes, around that time.
Email was not popular. So I sent it by fax to Honorable Obi Amwa quickly that this is the issue that had come up in camp and we needed to address it as a matter of urgency. So quickly we agreed on the amounts with the players and the money was sent to the Ghana mission in Berlin.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And then they transferred it to a bank near the team-based camp in Wolfsburg.
Yes.
And then we paid the players. But it was really a thorny issue. So the learning point from 2006 was that we needed to engage players ahead of the World Cup. So by 2010, we had gathered enough experience in appearance fees business and engaged the players adequately. So I remember at Protea Hotel, we had a meeting, the senior players, Stephen, John, and what have you. We had a meeting with the then minister, Honorable Kwasana Dansoa. We had a meeting to discuss this appearance fee business. And then we appeared before cabinet, chaired by the
You had to go to cabinet to justify why the players had to pay them.
Yes. To justify before His Excellency, the president of the time, the late
Alhaji Ali Mahmoud.
No,
Professor Mills. Prof Mills, yes.
Prof Mills was the president at the time.
Yes.
Because the government needed to understand what we were paying and whether it was
justifiable.
No, not only that. Was it a loan or it was a grant? You know?
I see.
Yes. Once FIFA was going to repay, it means that whatever government was paying was refundable.
Yes.
And then he brought his finance minister, Dr. Dufour at the time.
Yes.
And for us to discuss all this is for him to also advise the president whether they could accommodate it. So that's how it was done. So in 2010, there was no dispute about it.
Wasn't the $75,000 people said you were going to pay to them? Was it $75,000?
In
the 2010 World Cup. People
the appearance fee that we paid.
Yes, that's what the media had reported.
It's possible because in 2014 it was 100,000.
Yes.
The appearance fee was 100,000. In 2010, maybe 50 or 75, something like that.
Yes.
Well, it's been paid already, so it's been paid and spent, so it's no longer an issue.
Yes.
But there was no qualms, there was no dispute, there were no questions about appearance fee in South Africa. The bonuses, everything was discussed and agreed upon between management of the FA, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and then the players. So there was really no problem.
And that was a tournament we had the best of performances under your tenure, right?
Yes. In fact, one of the best World Cups for Africa, not only under my tenure, but the whole of the African continent. Africa had gone to 2 previous World Cups and reached the quarterfinals. So Ghana's attainment of a quarterfinal appearance at the 2010 World Cup was an event that equaled the two previous records that Africa had set. In far away 2002, Senegal, and then 1990 for Cameroon.
Yes.
We were just knocking on the doors of semi-final.
You want to recall what happened after that against Uruguay?
It was very unfortunate. When the referee awarded the penalty kick, I said I couldn't watch the penalty. I got off my seat and walked into the waiting area at the VIP. So I watched the penalty kick on TV. I couldn't watch it.
Oh, really?
Yes. I couldn't watch the thing live. I was frightened. I couldn't watch it. I don't know whether that was a prior notice to me that things were not going to be well, but I was frightened by that. I thought that. I didn't know how we were just going into the semi-final. It was going to be a big feat for Africa, not for me as a person or the GFA as an institution, and not for my country, Ghana, but the whole of Africa.
For the whole of Africa.
Because at the time that we got to the semi-final, we were the only African team in the competition.
Yes.
The whole of the African continent, together with, I think, the whole black race, were rooting behind the Black Stars. Unfortunately, we couldn't go beyond that. Then in 2014, with the benefit of the experiences of 2010 and 2006, we thought this would be our best World Cup. We thought we would even make it to the semi-final.
I do recall that friendly match that was played at the Accra Sports Stadium against a local side, building up to that World Cup, and everyone was confident that this year we're getting to the semi-final.
And the euphoria was like the 2006 euphoria.
Yes.
In 2014, the hopes were very high. We all thought that we were going to do a good job. Unfortunately, that was our worst World Cup performance amongst the three, and the reason was that we had the same appearance fee.
Yes, appearance which became very dominant in the airways. Yes.
You know, I never expected appearance fee to be an issue for us. In 2006, our next door neighbors, Togo, were reeling under the problem of appearance fees. Players threatened, in fact, they did not threaten. Players held management hostage and refused to train. So Sepp Blatter had to intervene personally to assure them monies would be paid so they should go and train and play their matches. And it was also realized that an appearance fee dispute could scandalize the whole World Cup.
Yeah, the whole tournament.
Yes. So FIFA intervened. So in 2010 and 2014, we're so mindful of this potential problematic issue. So we put a lot of measures in place and advised that the monies should be paid the players, because once you agree and you have your 23-man squad, it was just right that you pay them. But this was not done. We went to Amsterdam to play our last match, and appearance fee came up. The minister had to calm down and then see to the payment and assure that it would be done. We went to the US.
But it was approved by cabinet, it should be paid.
The money was approved. The money was approved by cabinet. The money was transferred from the Minister of Finance, I think the approval process, to the Bank of Ghana on 26th or 23rd of May.
Really?
Yes.
For a tournament that was going to start in June?
Yes. The Commission of Inquiry revealed that there was approval, the money went to the Bank of Ghana on that day and had to be, the account of the Minister of Youth and Sports had to be credited for the money to be paid to the players. They were to be given checks.
Yes.
It was never done. So when the Commission of Inquiry was set up, that was the issue that needed to be confronted headlong.
But they never came to the FA because you were in charge of the management of the game.
But the money was not GFA money. And I'm not a public officer. I wasn't a public officer at the time. I had no control. I was not the accounts officer. The GFA does not authorize or administer public funds. There are public officers who are responsible for that. If the money was paid to the GFA and the GFA did not disburse it, then the GFA had questions to answer. But this was not the situation. The money, the account of the Ministry of Youth and Sports ought to have been credited by the Bank of Ghana. The money went to the Bank of Ghana on 23rd or 26th of May 2014, and it was not paid. Up to the time that His Excellency the Vice President visited the team on the eve of the first game, the money had not been paid. The players were assured that the money will be paid. They played the first match, no show.
No show.
Second match, no show.
No show.
Third match, they decided to do Togo.
So how did you resolve that situation of players revolting, saying that they were not going to train, and how did you resolve that?
For me, I was surprised because we had been engaging them. And the assurances that we gave that the money will be paid, even though we didn't have control over the money, we thought they believed us. They did not believe us because several assurances had been given and none of them was fulfilled.
Yes. So at that point, they were right not to trust you anymore.
Yes. Yes, we had proven to be unreliable, but we didn't even have control over the money. We didn't have
How
control.
disgraceful was it that the whole world had Ghana money flying all over to Brazil? Could you even look at other FIFA and CAF officials in the face?
It was unimaginable. It was unimaginable that money could be flown across the Atlantic to pay appearance fees of players. And that attracted so much global attention, negative attention. Our country was not done a favor at all at that time. The media was not favorable towards us, and it didn't portray us in a very good light.
So the economy is having a toll on everyone. Every day Ghanaians are complaining of hardships in the Ghanaian economy because of how things are running now. Today, what you buy will change tomorrow. The price will increase tomorrow, and people are really lamenting on this. But we're on the street to really gauge the mood, hear from the people what exactly they are saying. So let's get the stories told by the people themselves. Let me start here from this woman.
It's very bad because I am dealing in disposable items, and the way things are going, it's too bad. Example like, give me ribbon. Give me one ribbon. I am selling it at the rate of 16 cedi here at Domi Market. Yesterday I went to Accra to get the same item at the cost of 26 cedi. How much am I coming to sell here? Because I was selling it 16 cedi. So imagine my customer come and I said it's 30 cedi. It means I have added 14 cedi. She will know it's coming from me, not where I bought it from. And sometimes I believe it's ours. It's the Ghanaians. We are killing ourselves because you buy like oil. Oil was going for 650, and as I speak to you now, 1,000, 2,005. You have the stock already. So even if the dollar is going high and you want to increase, at least 100 cedi will do. You can't have the old stock and increase something about 400, 500 cedis. It's not the president's fault. It's ours. We are killing ourselves. I am killing you. You are killing me. Why? There is nothing the president can do about it. It's not NDC, it's not MPP. What is going on now is between me and you. MPP cannot help us, NDC cannot help. So why do I have to kill my brother? You are selling this thing for me 26 cedi. How much am I coming to sell it? So what can the president do about it? Nothing. We're supposed to help ourselves because you have the old stock already. I was buying it 14 cedi and I sell it 16 cedi. Now it's 26 cedi. Why? Meanwhile, you have the stock already. So what can the president do? We have to stop the politics, NDC. It's not about MPP, it's not about NDC. It's about me and you. So the MPP, the NDC, the ministers, whatever, who are holding the dollars, it's both the NDC and MPP. They should bring it out. They are killing us. Else, the young girls of nowadays will all turn into prostitution and go. Because I am working, I will get here around 4:30. Somebody will be sleeping, and the person will be driving Land Cruiser, Prado, and I will be taking trotro. What is the sense of working? So I have to also chase some of the ministers and get the Prado and the Infinity and drive. It's of no use working. So they have to do something about it. It's bad. I work a lot. I pay workers. I look after my mother. I do this. But the money is not enough. So they have to do something. They have to stop the NDC and the MPP. And we should work as a Ghanaians and bring things to back. Akufo-Addo can never do anything for us as it stands now. That is my opinion about what is going on. The things are too much.
So let's try and speak to some more people on this one. On the economy, no. What want to say?
Oh, he said no question. Adding, I have a crime at the She said, "Mimi mom de minim say ye Ghana for na nkasa ye ne yedi ehu awu." She said, "Me a ye beko krom, obi be fa cabbage me ton vegetables. Obi di cabbage beba. Cabbage no ba e bi ni krom. Bag no akwa akonya ne bi a 3 million wo. Kweni na obre sam fifre ne nsam. Akonya na 3 million obedu krom obi ni ho. Was me ton 15 million. Kweni na no obre ye twa akofie ye bibia no. Wanya hwe. Eti ye Ghana for na ne yedi ehu awu. Eti rolling star no. Time I hear so ye buy better say na rolling say ebo ye maame ho no ya ante ase by nay di asase na mama hu say the entire man take his decision fi say that time no amu ye maame mo aka bia niam no wo mu yimpie by ya be ka na yate ni enim de e koso no kwasem Ghana for ye ton niam nyina do nya kristoni o ye muslim ni eden na say ye we are Christian, you walk a sorry them. I sorry, Radoba, Adia Wakoton 1 city, about a ton 56. And to one who said, will be a Chesaka will be a was it Pania Udini, but what time will be a Chesaka Kumubi? Dear Mimi Nimono. At the end, I see a Christopher, Yanni and Yamasum Swajuma. Gripper Penabag 18 million. Says a Gripper Papa Fam 9 million. About 18 million, ton a tray, 5 cities. About 9 million, what ton a tray, 5 cities. What just how you be who one casaw? Atamuda any bet Yamoka. Tis all your Christian, all your Muslim new. Who say, your friend, I'm your frost, also Brana Unianoma, woman to menton in it. Tis also one yet, Nessa Ube Kumaman for, and now Musika, Pebe Brebena. That's Ube Wating. To me, I'm walking.
So what she's also basically saying is agreeing with the first speaker that whatever is happening, the hardships that we're going through is the making of Ghanaians, not government, not anybody, but ourselves. She thinks that traders are profiteering too much, and that's why we are in this mess. That today someone buys something for 900 cedis or buys it for 300 cedis from the farmer, comes to the market and sells it for 1,500 cedis. She thinks it's just too much, and that people say they are Christians, they are Muslims, yet they are killing each other. They turn around to accuse people who stab people to death. She thinks if you are a trader and you are profiteering, you're also as cruel as the person who is stabbing people to death. So she feels that the Rawlins's era where there was this Kalabule thing and then traders were whipped in line to ensure that they brought out goods to sell at normal prices. We didn't understand when we came to hear them, but whatever is happening today has made her realize that indeed that was a good decision taken by the administration then. And she feels that she can't blame government for what's happening, but blame herself and her fellow traders for what we are in now. People should really give realistic prices for whatever they are selling. So let's still try and speak to more people on the street of Accra to really understand what they do make of this economy we are in. Mame Machi.
Yeah, Joe Papa.
Na bibia boko de.
Nyame adumo.
Mona motwan de o. Enioma akosai.
Say Mamu de aniama ne board den dodo. Ebi ayekofa ne na ochina akokra nso anye saa bo no ana etie. Say de akase ne mamu omra ne yebo ne mamu oden.
O afefo ne bi fi say ye ne eton ade na ne ye ku ye ho. Nti o se yesesa. O so dwen o say.
no cry, Obo no more. So what's the price and a pen or sandy be a cajon, baby and so dear see, Titroni and one, or dear CS or Monton, number 15 million. Said the Yaman, the neighbor a day. Yes, ya can be. Ya can be, and many a man boy in Samay.
And do visit then, I'll say,
as I said, yeah. Yaman wanted their band by their farm. They said they are not my.
So she's also agreeing with the two earlier contributors that it is the traders who are really killing themselves. And she's even making an example of cooking oil, that people are stocking them, claiming that they would want to sell them when the prices of the cooking oil gets to 1,500. So she says that they're only looking at what God will do and what this government can also do to alleviate the challenges of the economy. She feels that when they go out there to buy an item, the price of it today will change tomorrow. And people, even though have stock, when they hear that the prices have gone up, they still add on to the old stock they have. That she thinks is not good. But that's the thought. Well, let's speak to this bread seller. Mami had to say. Also Tom Brodo. And you want to say?
And near Master said the Nkoye Kra Brodo Mesua. First, the Nanka Mesua yet talk. None born no form. Say the Anaborn cost from Mesua and talk. And you may best swam your matching, sir. Say Mineska Crown, remember. They said they are no day, annoyed day, annoyed dear my uncle von Tonio Manindi. Eh, says it's all Munyas can and talk. First, Nanka no boy at 10 city, and no motor. They say 15 cities. It's not a near man a cost runty. I was here, Brodo, the 15. Yadigi years so yan talk. They say me for a car free pocas and a maba. Me buy me yes canco. None so I ask some. Or bad time, Miss Rahi matching, bear 3:30 and a mabaha. Me cheese, Nanny may use They say they are not yet near my school fees is also Boacostro. And why a day?
You know, there be an also Broadway the bar, which mean your best and the coffee. Oh, first dear, Nanka Mesua. At least meet me 100 cities. Name the coffee. Say, Miamia do 50 Kuraminia. Me buy medidi, me for a car, me lol for me con me by 10 city. Me buy Diana Kura, me my family, my mammy nipper do a cry a bassa. They say they are no currently and Moya Dane. And now, Otana dream officer then Amanabasa. Maybe there's a sea dear, dear Mimi Green say. Bible Nasam no kind, maybe I'm a first and one album. Because all can say, we are saying a query, I henna sorry, I henna so, and my fras on Dembeba, and many more Dembeba, maybe the Margaret, dear, my first and no moon I away. Maybe a son of Margaret. So she says that she sells bread. Things are hard that she can carry this bread all throughout the day and it won't finish. She says at first she could make 100 cedis on a daily sales. But today, it's even difficult to make a 50 cedis profit on what she sells. That she believes it's the manifestation of what the Bible said. That in the end times, things will be difficult. That's what she believes. That where we are in is just a mark of the end times. Well, let's try and engage some more people here to really understand what they also do make of this economy. Chief, how are you doing?
Yes, I'm fine.
You're a taxi driver.
Yes.
You've been complaining about the cost of fuel. What's your exact complaint, really?
Okay, my complaint is that, sir, if you are coming to the house, if you are sitting in the house, we are coming to the market to work. If you are coming here, we are freed because of the fuel. We are afraid because of the fuel. Now, fuel, 1 Ghana is going to 70 Ghana, 80 Ghana. Some people are doing it more than 80 Ghana. It's very bad. We are crying. Since morning, I'm in the house. I come here. I didn't get only 20 Ghana I get since morning. It's not good. But we are crying. We are crying. We are beg. We are beg. We are crying. We are crying. It's too much. The fuel is too much. It's too much.
So. Let us understand, how is it really impacting on you as a father, as someone who probably has a family that takes care of them?
The effort is too much. If I come to work right now, I'm going to the house. I don't have anything to give to my wife. I'm totally disappointed with the government. It's too much. So government to do something. Please, government to do something. Please, we are begging him. It's very too much.
Good morning to you. Thank you so much for staying here on the AM show. It's now time to bring you our big stories, and it's focusing on the issue about the finance minister's sack. The past few weeks have seen him come under a lot of criticism and pressure. He's been asked to resign, and majority MPs in Parliament asked the president to sack him earlier this week. Well, the president has asked them to allow Mr. Ofori-Atta complete negotiations with the IMF and prepare the 2023 budget statement before they can continue the conversation about whether he's sacked or he stays. But some Ghanaians have described this move by the president as one in which he's choosing his party over the state. Today we discuss how and when that happens and what the ramifications are if a person places political affiliation or partisan interest ahead of the state. Also, we'll be talking about that speech delivered by former President John Dramani Mahama, building the Ghana we want. Well, he's been saying a couple of things, including the president replacing the finance minister. But not only that, he wants the economic management team to be reconstituted. He also wants government to stop collateralizing statutory funds. And he says that it must unsecuritize them as part of debt restructuring. He believes that this will give government more money. He has also been asking government to collapse what he refers to as the wasteful Free SHS Secretariat, the One District, One Factory Secretariat. And he's been talking about other agencies like MASLOG, the GEA, the NEIP. He believes that they should be merged into one entity under the Employment Ministry. Well, there's a lot of things to digest here this morning. We've been joined by Dr. Daniel Appiah. He's a political governance and public administration expert at the University of Ghana Business School. Professor Bafo Ajimandua is CEO of the Kufuor Foundation. He would also be part of this conversation. Let me welcome you, gentlemen, to the show. Thanks for making time to be part.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Do I have Prof on as well?
Yes, this is me, Ajimandua.
All right. Okay. Let me start with you, Prof. There have been calls, and they keep coming. Yesterday, we heard one from the former president, for the president to sack the finance minister. The president thinks that this is not the time, in the middle of an IMF deal, and also just about to deliver the 2023 budgets. There are those who say, I mean, if the institution is working properly, the negotiations should go on without the presence of the finance minister. What are your quick thoughts on that?
Well, thank you. I think, first of all, the president may have a point. I think he may be worried that the ongoing negotiations and other assignments that the finance minister and the undertaking may be interrupted and perhaps have some negative impact. Maybe that is his thinking, and that's why he may be pleading for time for the finance minister to complete some of these national assignments. So in that respect, I could have some sympathy for that. But, you know, I don't think it's necessary for the president to tie this major national, I would say, event around one person. We do not build institutions, or a nation cannot put its future in the hands or around one person. Because, as you know, that will not, I mean, certainly in governance, you don't build that around individuals. And a perfect example, perhaps, is when the former British Chancellor of the Exchequer, Kofi Kwatin, was in Washington, negotiating on behalf of the British government, headed by Les Strauss at the time. But once it became necessary for Kojo Brace to be sacked, so to speak, she called him and he flew in. And as soon as he got in, he gave him his dismissal letter. And the British system continued. And this has happened many times, especially if you recall during the Trump era, former Secretary of State was flying to perform a certain important assignment in Africa. As he was flying somewhere over Egypt, he called him and told him to just turn around and come back. It was fine. So displacing one official will not necessarily undermine the efforts of a nation to achieve certain ends. And that is clear-cut. And I think if you look at the intensity of the public outcry, if you gauge the mood of people about this issue, I think the finance minister himself, he perhaps saved the president from the pain of making this decision by voluntarily resigning.
But Prof, why you use the expression to save the president the pain? And that's the sentiments a lot of people share, is that the president appears to, beyond the excuse of allowing him to finish the negotiations with the IMF, appears to be attached in a certain way. Of course, we know that they're relatives, they have family ties. So there are those who say that there's somebody people think is underperforming. There are those who've even suggested that his continuous stay in office as a finance minister is dwindling confidence in the economy, for which reason we're seeing some of the things we're seeing, especially with the exchange rate. So they say, why would you sacrifice that over a certain emotional attachment to all of this?
You made a point. Certainly, the president appears to be deeply attached emotionally to the finance minister for reasons that all of us know, that they are cousins and all. And certainly, it would be improper to place such a very parochial interest above a national need, you know? And that's why I think a lot of people are worried that the president seems to be resisting this very massive public outcry for a change. You know, when I think in Britain, for instance, when there was a change at the treasury, that is the finance minister, when the new guy came on, quickly the pound started rallying against the dollar. And even in Ghana, I understand that over the past 2 or so days, there appear to have been some stability in the currency because of the expectation that there will be a change. You know, the currency movement on the market normally is influenced very much by the expectations of people, investors. When something is perceived generally to be not working and there's going to be a change, the mood and expectations will change and affect, you know, the currency. So I think, personally, I do not know why the president is being very insistent on keeping him until perhaps the budget is read. Because I think psychologically it's not even good for the finance minister with this kind of pressure, as if he has committed some crime. And I think with this hanging over his head, I'm not even sure he's going to have the peace of mind for him to do whatever that the president wants him to do before he goes away. So if I were the president, I think this is the time I'll bite the bullet and simply decide that, look, for this situation, please, let's make a change. And I can assure you, if a change is made and a person who has more credibility in the eyes of the public is put in place, you might see some very interesting, positive change in the way the currency in particular and the whole economy might turn. So I personally, I think that it's about time the president became decisive on this very matter that seems to be agitating almost all Ghanaians, and I don't think the president needs to be hanging on this argument anymore.
Right, Prof. Let me bring in Dr. Appiah now. Doc, so clearly there's a problem who needs multiple solutions. We've spoken to the experts and we've spoken to politicians. But for many people, they think the person at the helm of affairs at our finance ministry must go. In fact, the former president, John Dramani Mahama, extends it beyond Ken Ofori-Atta. He says the entire economic management team must be reconstituted. Your quick thoughts on that additional suggestion?
Thank you very much, and thanks to our listeners and viewers. The first one concerns whether or not Ken Ofori-Atta should go. As we've heard from the NPP MPs in Parliament, we've heard about the deal that they have reached with the president, to the extent that the president says allow the minister to stay and then continue with the negotiations, and afterwards allow the minister to stay and finish the budget and the appropriations bill, and then afterwards then I will act on your demand to ask him to leave. What we have not heard so far is the posture or the perspective of the IMF. The IMF negotiations require very difficult and hard choices that the government must make. Perhaps, maybe the IMF have got confidence more in Ken Ofori-Atta's ability to make the difficult choices that the IMF wishes the government to make, after which Ken Ofori-Atta will then hand over to another person who may not be in a position to make those difficult choices if a new finance minister were to be at the helm of affairs now. So maybe the IMF has got so much confidence in the ability of Ken Ofori-Atta to make the difficult choices now.
Sorry, permit me to interject, but is it left to the IMF to decide for us as a people what we want? Because clearly, sitting here, I can tell you that I have sampled the views of experts, of the people, the MPs who belong to the NPP itself. I appreciate the perspective that you're bringing, but as a people, should it be left to an external body to make that decision for us? Shouldn't the people's desire override political, personal, or other interests?
I think what we should be asking is whether we can walk away from the IMF now and still keep our economy going. And the answer is no. So if the answer is no, then at the end of the day, you have to take the position of the IMF very, very seriously.
So are you telling me now that the IMF can tell us, for example, that we want Ken Ofori-Atta to lead this? Forgive me, what if he gets indisposed or is unable to move or work? Then what happens?
Well, for now, we know that he's not indisposed. But the point that I am emphasizing is that now we find ourselves in a ditch, and then we've placed all our hopes on getting the IMF bailout. So what we need to understand is that the IMF is now in a very, very powerful position at the moment in this negotiation. And we've heard from different parties. What we don't know is the view of the IMF. And what I'm emphasizing is that the choices on the table are very, very difficult at the end of the day to make. Do the IMF trust Ken Ofori-Atta to make those hard choices now and afterwards leave the scene and hand it over to another person? If yes, and then the IMF now have got more confidence in the ability of Ken to lead that, then there will be that kind of backroom kind of negotiations that, come on, keep Ken at the negotiation table until we finish. And mind you, government and IMF all want a speedy resolution to the negotiation at the end of the day. And the second thing that I keep emphasizing is the fact that it's the issue of trust. Who do you trust to make the hard and difficult choices that have been placed on the table? So we need to know the perspective or the position of the IMF. And for now, I've not heard anything from the IMF suggesting that they do not have confidence in the ability of Ken to make the hard choices. Of course, if Ken were to leave the situation, I will be happy. But what I'm saying is that the IMF has become a very, very powerful actor now at the negotiation table. And what is their position? If they think that Ken can make the choices that they want Ghana to make, then they will be pushing for Ken to remain. And we need to look at that angle as well.
But that's interesting, because I mean, I'm just thinking about the sovereignty of us as a country and whether or not the IMF even has the power to do what you're suggesting. But this then brings me to my next question. I remember when the former president of the United States, Barack Obama, visited Ghana, he spoke about strengthening our institutions. Clearly, from what you're telling me, it appears then that everything is centered on one man, isn't it?
Well, not that. looking at the institutions that we have to deal with the problem. First, let's look at the structure of parliament. You have 137, you have a hung parliament. And so the first thing is, if the president asks Ken Ofori-Atta to go now, definitely a new finance minister will have to be appointed. The question that we have to ask ourselves is whether that the current parliament will be able to speedily approve a new finance minister to complete the negotiations. This one we don't know. So it will be very important that both the NPP and then the minority perhaps will have to reach a deal about the appointment of a new finance minister and then the timelines for approving a new finance minister for both the government and then the opposition and then the IMF to be confident that even if Ken goes tomorrow and then a new person has been nominated, the approval of the new person is going to be speedy. The next thing that we have to look at the institutional perspective is if you look at last year, 2021's budget, 2021's budget was thrown away by the minority, and then we all know the brouhaha that emerged from that. And then later the majority came in and then reinstated it, and the thing went to court back and forth. And so you are looking at an institution that itself is not very stable. It is in crisis. I'm talking about the legislature. And so there is no strong confidence in the ability of the legislature to help us now really to resolve the matters quickly. And so you are faced now with a legislature in crisis and then an IMF negotiation that you want to complete on time. And so at the end of the day, which one do you choose? And that's why I say, if the IMF have got confidence in the ability of Ken to make the hard choices, the president is more likely to say, well, Ken remain because at the end of the day, I don't have confidence in the ability of Parliament to resolve the issues now. At the same time, they also want to avoid last year's kind of situation that affected the budget. And so the institution that we have now currently in Parliament is not one that the president can really have great confidence in helping to resolve the issues. And we need to also avert our minds to that fact.
Right. Let me bring in now Professor Lord Mensah, who is also with the University of Ghana Business School. Thank you so much for joining the program, Prof. I remember having this conversation with you a couple of weeks ago, and for yourself and some other experts, this was going to come. Let me first find out from you the manner in which the NPP MPs, made their statement so open, so candid and clear. Did that come to you as a surprise?
I'm not surprised at all because I think before they came to public, I presume they would have done some background, attempt to get the finance minister, off the position that he finds himself. You see, we shouldn't take the call from the majority for granted because the market or the economy thrives on information. And over the past 7 months, the silence by the economic management team, especially the finance minister, the Bank of Ghana governor, and then the vice president, clearly has allowed the market to feed on its own information, because information is very, very important in driving the economic, dynamics. Now, we saw the exchange rate going up, we saw all the inflation going up and all those, but no one was coming out to speak. And clearly, the market had to feed on itself to think about the next line of action. And the market knows very well, the market has learned that over the years, prices will always go up. So within 7 months or so, exchange rate has moved from 6 point something all the way to, the black market was talking about 15% without any information from any of these, team members. So effectively, the signals weren't good. And for majority, 86 of them, to go to Parliament and say that we don't want finance minister anymore. And as a result of that, the finance minister must go. They have also studied to know that our problem is as a result of the finance minister. And clearly it's on the grounds. The aggressive posture of the finance minister's economic management is what has brought us this far. The finance minister started borrowing, and that borrowing has not led to any economic improvement, and which he should have stopped. And so, for me, for the backbenchers of the parliament to go and ask for the head of the finance minister, it's not surprising at all. It's not surprising because if you are to cut all the various economic indicators.
Hello, Prof.
That you come to for this fourth republic. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sorry, we lost you for a few seconds. Please continue.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that if we should cut the economic indicators and align them to the various finance ministers across regimes, you will get to understand that the current finance minister has performed badly. Right. You know, the last time inflation, went above treasury bills, that was around the 95s thereabout. By that time, we had not, started our, fourth republic democracy that we're talking about here with that kind of political stability that we've been enjoying.
But Prof, what do you say? What do you say to those who say that the conditions under which this finance minister worked may not be similar to the ones that you're comparing this morning? They raised the issue of COVID-19, for example, which really slowed down our economy, not only ours, but many across the world. They talk about the Russia-Ukraine war. And we've even heard from the IMF boss herself, who mentioned that Ghana's crisis was not largely because of our local policy or economic policy, but it was due to external factors and stress. Later, we learned from the IMF that our inflation is largely domestic driven. So there are those who say the times are not the same, and so you cannot compare this dispensation to the others.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you. Did you hear my question, Prof?
Yes, you were asking whether I can easily compare,
Yeah, because there are those who say that dispensations are different.
Yeah, that is why, we normally in economics we quote in percentages. It takes into consideration all the relativities, the time relativities, the baseline relativities, and all those. So effectively, the performance is not clearly, good as, compared to earlier ministers. And that is why I'm not surprised they're calling for his head. And you can feel it in your own, homes and in our own pocket. When you are paid salary, you are not sure of even your consumption in the next 2 weeks or the next 3 weeks. So effectively, it tells you that, yes, things are not going well, and it has got into our doorstep.
Well, so the president says, all right, I've heard you, but let's allow Mr. Oforiatta to finish the IMF negotiations and then prepare the 2023 budget. Then we can begin to talk even about whether he should stay or not. I just had a response from the other guests on the program, but let me take yours. There are those who say that this is more of an emotional decision that places party, family over the entire nation. Clearly, you are the expert, and you've drawn the link between the stay in office of the finance minister and what it does to the market and the confidence in our economy. Would you say the president took an emotional decision?
Yeah, I think the president is enjoying that kind of uncertainty hanging on the economy. Now, people cannot make a definite decision as to whether they should stay in Ghana or they should move out of Ghana. Investors are looking out what is likely to happen. If everybody knows that the current finance minister has not performed, and as a result of that, his own party people are calling for his head, why do you want to prolong the uncertainty? The president to call for the extension or to say that the finance minister should finish his job as a negotiator for the IMF program, and then also to read the budget for us before we start talking about his exit. I think maybe the president is enjoying the kind of uncertainty hanging on the economy. Anyway, the finance minister, works in a team. We have an economic management team. He himself alone is not the one negotiating with IMF. Unless maybe they tell me that it's only the finance minister negotiating with IMF, and as a result of that, when he exits, he may go with all the kind of information that we need. But from where I sit, if you're working with systems, if you're working with structures that we have in this economy, having an economic management team, the finance minister alone won't change anything. But when the finance minister was not around, who read the budget for us? Was it not who read the budget? So for me, him as a person, if we're working with the systems and then working with the structures we have, the finance minister as a person, for an extension or to say you should finish the IMF program, I think he's hanging on the economy for long, and I'm not happy with that response that came from the president.
Would you say then that this is an admission, maybe not explicitly, but a subtle admission of what critics have been saying, that probably Mr. Ofori-Atta seems to be doing all the work and sidelining other members of the economic management team? I'm sure you've heard that on the streets.
Well, I've heard it, but I don't want to use that in my submission because I have to be clear and definite on some of these things that come out. I can tell you that, yes, indeed, looking at the dynamics, I was making a submission earlier and I went up. If you cut all the indicators and relate to the various finance ministers, this man has not done well. And as a result of that, he must go. And I wasn't expecting the finance minister to keep to tell us that.
Well, we seem to have a problem with Prof Slide. We'll work on that. But let me bring in my other guests now for their quick thoughts on that, and then we will delve deeper into the submissions made by former President John Dramani Mahama last night. Professor Agyeman Aduah, I would ask you that same question. Do you think that the president's decision to keep the finance minister still in office and the reasons he's attached to that gives credence to what critics say then, that our institutions are not working, we may not have a team working on our economic management, and it may be a sole-driven agenda by the finance minister in regards to getting the IMF deal and other economic measures being put in place?
In governance, it is dangerous to build the future of a society, in this case a country, around an individual. That's why democracy as a political system seeks to what you call full participation and multiplicity of institutions and people and ideas. So you cannot put a whole nation's future in the hands of one individual. So certainly, personally, from the perspective of governance, it is wrong for anybody to believe that the displacement of an individual can undermine a nation's effort. As simple as that. And it's on that principle that I think that Mr. President didn't give the proper response to the calls by his own parliamentarians. Look, just suppose, and God forbid, and this statement I'm making, I hope I'm not wrongly interpreted by anybody. God forbid, if Ken were to be very sick, become incapable of doing something tomorrow, does it mean that the negotiations with the World Bank will be suspended until he recovers? Does it mean that the management of the finances of this country will be suspended until he recovers? Still up. And again, this kind of issue, this insistence of an individual's soul, could be the reason why our institutions are weak. And you made a very interesting reference to Obama's state when he visited this country. That what you need are strong institutions, not strong men. An institution thrives on systems that are created to make it work. So anybody who wants to build an institution and run an individual is bound to have some serious problems as it goes along. So I think this whole discussion is a very interesting one, and it's a very important one because for me, it goes beyond the finance minister. Because we are talking about how as a nation we build institutions and have confidence in the institutions rather than putting our trust in one individual. That is dangerous. So on that basis, in as much as I think the president may have his own good reasons for insisting on that, I think for the sake of the nation's development, we should not place the nation's future in the hands of one individual. So certainly, I think that, and again, whatever that they are negotiating at the IMF, it is not Ken Ofori-Atta's, what is it? It is not his personal interest that he's negotiating. He's negotiating on behalf of the nation. And I believe also he's not there alone. He has a team. And that team represents the collective interest of Ghana as appointed by the president. And the president is acting on behalf of the country. He's not acting on his own behalf.
Prof,
so I think this argument about individual, I think we should just leave it in the past. It's not relevant.
Right. So would you then say also that it's not fair to then put everything at the doorstep of the finance minister, since there's an existing economic management team for which the former president is asking a reconstitution? He says, let's reconstitute the entire team because it appears that this goes beyond the finance minister.
You know, this is very interesting because just 2 days ago, I had a very personal discussion with somebody. And that's exactly the conclusion I reached, or the two of us reached. Because this economy is not just Ken Ofori-Atta's economy. He's the finance minister, right? But the key policy directives come from a collective, what we call the economic management team. So in fact, if the chief executor of policy finds himself in this, then of course the management team is also answerable to the challenge that we are having. Unfortunately, Ken as the finance minister, the one that wants to help everybody is either lambasting or making comments about it. It's the whole team. So even before former President Mahama spoke, I had already concluded that the whole management team must be reshuffled. And I think this presents a very fine opportunity for the president to seriously consider a reshuffle that he has held on for all this while. If he's able to bring fresh blood, some taste, a new kind of, he will bring new credibility to the whole process of managing our economy. So, yes, I mean, if a former President Mahama is making that point, because I concluded on that some days before even he came out to speak. Because it makes sense. It's logical. It's logical. We cannot just single out Ken and sacrifice him. There was a team behind it.
Right. Dr. Apia, if you're still on, clearly we don't know what the future holds with regards to Mr. Ofori-Atta's stay in office. The minority has done something in Parliament. It's filed a motion, a vote of censure, i.e. a vote of no confidence. And it is actually asking its members in Parliament who do not vote in agreement with this, saying that they would be expelled from the party, which means then that they would automatically lose their seats as a result. And so the minority is also pushing. We heard from Haruna Idrisu, who is minority leader. He says that he's tried to speak to the majority side to try and get more people because they would need the number of votes which goes beyond the number of minority MPs anyway. We don't know what the future holds, but clearly the times do not look good for Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta with this vote of censure. The Speaker of Parliament believes that the stabilization, the slight stabilization we are seeing with the CD is as a result of this vote of no confidence. What should the president be doing at this point? We've heard from him, but considering this latest move by the minority, what should he be doing?
Right. What the president should be doing now is looking at the agreements reached with the NPP MPs, that after the IMF negotiations, then he will act on their demand to kick out Ken Ofori-Atta. What he should be doing now is to look at what happened last year with the budget approval process, and then now start negotiating with the opposition NDC on two things. One, about the person that the president intends to nominate to fill in the shoes of Ken Ofori-Atta when Ken Ofori-Atta goes. It's not a question of if Ken goes, it is a question of when. So that now they have to start negotiating and then reaching agreement about whether the person is acceptable to both sides of the house, so that they will be able to speed up the process of approving the nomination of the new finance minister. The second thing that the president should be doing now is also to start negotiating with the opposition NDC about the content of the budget that the government intends to present to the House, so that it will be able to avoid what happened last year. Because if the budget is not passed fast enough, then the speed that the president is looking forward to conclude both the IMF negotiations and then the passage of the budget will not be met. And so the president should be negotiating first with the opposition about the person who is going to fill in Ofori-Atta's shoes, and then second about the content of the budget. And this is also the opportunity for the NDC to actually exert its influence and then make sure that its preferences in terms of how the budget should look like, its preferences is felt in the content of the budget. So they should go beyond just coming up with a 9-line whip against the MPs to say that you have to vote in a certain way. And they themselves should go beyond and then start also drafting what they think should be within the budget, or their preferences that should be in the budget, so that we'll be able to navigate this process very fast. Because there are two major things that have brought us here. The first one is the economic crisis. The second one, which we've just discussed, is the fact that no one has got confidence in our current constitutional structure to push us forward. All eyes are now currently on the economic side. Meanwhile, the constitutional crisis that have brought us here remains. Oseche Mensah has signaled that we need to reform the constitutional structure if you want to go forward. John Mahama has also signaled that we need to reform it. And I think that this is the time for all these negotiations to come on board. Unfortunately, from the president's side, there were two things that they said they will never do. The first one is they will never go to the IMF. The second one is he will never implement a comprehensive constitutional reform program. Unfortunately, with the IMF, they are there. And then the second one, which is the comprehensive constitutional reform program, is staring us right here. After the IMF deal is completed, the implementation of that, if it is not handled well, and if we do not give hope to the current generation that there is a better future with a constitutional reform, we are going to end up with a huge political crisis on our hands. And so these are things that the president should be negotiating currently with the opposition in parliament to give hope that there is a better future ahead.
Right. So yesterday at that program at the UPSA where former President Mahama spoke, we also heard from the minority spokesperson on finance, Dr. Casey Alato-Forson. He is predicting harder or harsher times ahead. He thinks that government will need about $200 billion to deal with what the future holds for this economy. Professor Lord Mensah, we need to present a debt restructuring program to the IMF as part of sealing our deal with the body. Here's what President Mahama thinks, former President Mahama thinks. He thinks that restructuring our debt should not only focus on local ones, but international ones as well. Do you agree?
Yeah, that's very true. But let me also come in on the keeping Ken Ofori-Atta's position or not. You see, the president should understand that the economic cost of keeping Ken Ofori-Atta will be more than the benefit that his position will give out if in case he should keep his position. And he should come out to take a bold decision that the man must go. It's as simple as that. The economic cost is so high because this is a finance minister who will tell us that we are not going to IMF. The next time we are going to IMF. The uncertainty that this minister has created over the years, and it keeps on, affecting the economy one way or the other in terms of decision making here and long-term decision making, it's so high. So for me, I think he should go. But let me come back to your question: whether debt restructuring should focus on, the local level debt or not. But then we better start from home anyway. And what the former president is calling for truth. Local debt is not much of a problem. Local debt, of course, we know very well that when it comes to restructuring, and I'm hoping the restructuring, the various financial institutions will be able to absorb, some of these haircuts by sacrificing part of their margins that they're expecting on some of these investments. Beyond that, we have to look, outside. There probably maybe the approach that they're adopting now is to, start with the local, to send a signal to the public, to the foreign debt that foreign creditors, that even in our local environment, we've been able to restructure our debt, and so therefore we anticipate that. But let's look at it this way. As we speak now, our coupon, bonds, the coupons on our bonds, the Ghanaian bond on the Euro bond market is selling about 40%, okay, which is not normal everywhere. So effectively, it tells you that once we start the debt restructuring, the coupon price of our debt, externally, is going to go up. So it's good to start home, but then we should send a signal that once we're done with the home debt restructuring, we are coming to the international, platform for negotiations. But let's also look at the timing. You see, maybe the debt restructuring at an external, level will be more convenient and more stronger if we are able to engage the IMF. That is why probably we may start at home, and then once we done and succeed by IMF and we start having this policy credibility and all those, we'll start negotiating with, our creditors outside. So the timing is important, not just to say we should, debt restructure. If you go to the table with your external creditors, what are you going to put on the table? We need certain credibility. We need certain financial discipline. And it's only IMF that can provide that financial discipline for us to negotiate with our external, creditors. And that is why probably we are looking in-house before we start thinking about outside.
Right. I made reference to Dr. Cassiel Atuforsen's presentation before the former president spoke. He mentions that we will have harsher economic times ahead of us if their suggestions are not heeded. Do you think that's just a political rhetoric, or he has his statements grounded on facts?
No, the things they put out there, you see, I always talk about, yesterday we had 2 days before we had the governor of Bank of Ghana meeting the banks. What did they decide on? As we speak now, nothing has come out to the public. And I'm hoping that that is going to feed into the president's speech that he's going to give on Sunday. If nothing comes out of it, that will allow the market to feed on itself. But trust me, we shouldn't think things are going to be, normal as, we used to be somewhere in January this year. The Ghanaian economy is now, feeding on itself. Because if you look at the structure of the economy, we've been managing it with loans every time. This is the only time that we were not able to go to the Eurobond market to have, a loan into our economy, and that has moved the exchange rate to the extent that we have it now. But we have the natural state of the Ghanaian economy without Eurobond loan, and that is what we're facing now. So if the market continues to close on us, then this is the state of the Ghanaian economy. Let's put it that way. So the hardship that we're facing now is not something that we should anticipate to go out, easily. we should understand that in economics, it is easy to slip in the dip. When you are coming out from the dip, I mean, it takes harsh measures. And the things that the former president outlined are things that I wish it will come from the current president, and that would have given some kind of confidence, reducing cutting down some expenditures, reducing your ministers to 65, ensuring that some institutions that are running parallel to existing structures that we have, you collapse them and all those are realistic things that I wish it would come from the president. And on the Sunday's speech, I believe that he should lift some of these things, and make sure that he implements them for us to, lift ourselves back from the dip that we've and ourselves again.
Beyond his suggestion to government, the former president also had a suggestion for all of us as citizens. He speaks, for example, about buying locally produced food items, eating local, Operation Feed Yourself, and all those kind of things. I remember a couple of weeks back when we were having this conversation about our current economic crisis, I asked one of our experts what advice he had for people. As we speak now, there are homes that are struggling. People are wondering how to manage their domestic economies, okay? So how they manage their finances in their homes. Your quick thoughts on that suggestion by the former president, and if there's anything that is working for you or anything that the books say about situations like this and how individuals can cope, we won't mind hearing it from you at all.
Yeah, I think clearly at this time it's about consuming something locally made. And for me, I'm the type that personally I like the local stuff. I eat ampisi, I eat banku, I eat things that are mostly locally made. So we should change our consumption pattern. Clearly, we should change our consumption pattern. And once we are in our homes, we should try and grow some basic stuff like kontomire and all those around us that can, substitute these foreign things that we eat. I think, he's calling for Ghanaians to reorient their taste. And reorientation of our taste does not come a fortnight. Because, if you look at a build-up, getting into this perfume rice that we normally mention. I went to Fansprim, and I can tell you, before I went to Fansprim, I didn't know anything like perfume rice. But you see some of my colleagues coming in with, perfume rice, and then, the noise they make about it, and even when they are cooking, the aroma around it, and all those. You feel like, having a touch of foreign rice. So when things get better, everybody may want to eat the foreign rice. That is if it is available. Let me put it that way. That is if it's available. But then, why don't we come out with a conscious, policy to say that, look, there are a lot of local manufacturing, rice on the market, which would taste the same way as, the foreign, rice that we have. We've started growing this paddy rice, variety in our local environment. And so on the market, you get this paddy rice, which is the same rice coming from the Thailand and all those, which at the end of the day will save us foreign exchange. Because if you consume goods that are produced locally, it's a way of, supplying foreign exchange into the market because you won't use money to go and import again. So for me, we need a conscious, effort. And whilst you are doing that, you try to place some restrictions on the importation. The unfortunate thing is that, our political dispensation has, gotten to a point where businessmen find themselves into politics. And they try to be financiers of this, politics. So immediately their party comes to power, it's an advantage to expand their business. And that is why a lot of, goods are imported. And, we cannot stop them. We cannot really roll out policies that will stop this importation. We can do it gradually. If we make it effort that at the end of the day, in the next 2 years, planting for food and jobs, we are going to reduce rice importation by 40%. The next 2 years, we are going to reduce it by, 60%. gradually build up to 80% and then leave the 20% for importation, it should go a long way. And when the typical Ghanaian goes to the market and he sees the price differential as far as the local rice and then the foreign rice is concerned, it should be, a rational consumer will always, pick the one with the cheaper, cost. And then also, that has almost the same taste as the foreign one. That will, gradually reduce the importation. But if we sit and say, we should change our taste back and then ensure that we eat, local rice. When the person goes to the market and he sees the foreign rice, you buy the foreign rice. Reduce the availability of the foreign rice, and then Ghanaians will have no choice. Let me tell you, this year I've never eaten foreign rice. All the rice I've been eating in my house has been local rice from Lagos. So effectively, it is an option, and I think it's an option of making available local rice. If the local rice are available, and provide incentives. I know a lot of people are into, rice farming and all those. Those who are into rice farming, give them incentives to expand. The taxes that you take, use it to provide incentives for them to expand more, so that the local rice will be available in town. And once they are available on our market and prices are cheaper, a rational consumer will always go for it.
And I think that local producers really acted swiftly with regards to this. I've seen on social media people promoting oil made in Ghana. I didn't know that we had groundnut oil produced in commercial quantities, and so people are really taking advantage of this to market what they produce locally. But let me come to you, Professor Agyemang-Duah, even as we wrap up this conversation. We heard Professor Lord Mensah speak about the seeming silence of government, and experts have had reason to complain about that, especially with the IMF deal and what government's real policy is with addressing this situation. They say government has not been proactive enough. Yesterday, we heard from the former president, John Dramani Mahama. On Sunday, we will hear from the President of the Republic of Ghana, President Akufo-Addo. Prof, as you sit back and look at all these things, bearing in mind the context that has been created, how does it make you feel, the former president speaking ahead of the president?
Well, politically, I don't know what to say, because politicians are smart. They always look for ways to preempt certain things. So I think he did right. But listening to him and what my good friend Lord Mensah and others have said, the fact is that over the years, our leaders have not had the courage to initiate certain policies that will restructure the economic base of our country. In fact, what we are experiencing today, we have to face it. It's not Akufo-Addo's creation. It's a creation of Ghanaians over the years. This whole notion of having what we call import-dependent economy, that we have decided to import everything in this country, including toothpaste, including tomato from the Sahelian countries, Burkina and others, including onions and all. We can go on there. Everything you go to the shops today, 80, 95, if not 98% will be things that are imported. That has been the problem. And I think, fortunately for us, there has been a moment in our country where a government did not secure IMF loans, where a government did not go around looking for Eurobonds. But at the same time, the country was able to produce enough rice and export rice to Burkina Faso, Chad, and other places. We have done it before. You see, so now today we are all talking about making my own contomere, or we have done it before. And the facts are there. Between 1972 to 78, the only government that never went to the IMF was the Champon government. And we have to find the reasons why. The reasons were simple. He initiated a development philosophy that he called self-reliance. It was within that context of self-reliance that I think he introduced the Operation Feed Yourself. Operation Feed Yourself. And that is the period that Ghana produced abundant rice. But we changed it radically to embark on importation because the political elite over the years have benefited from that. Their own people are empowered to go bring in money, quick money, to the detriment of developing our domestic base. So, if the former president is now bringing that idea, I think it's a laudable one. But it must be done in such a way that we will change the development philosophy for our country. There must be a cap to extent to which government will come in and borrow. And why can't government be very straight to people that, look, we know you need 10 hospitals, but at the moment we can't. We can do 2 or 3. Why do they come in when they want power to make promises? Promises that they know they can't fulfill because there's no money. Then they run to Europe or somewhere, IMF, and look for loans. And now we have hit the ceiling. We can't even go for loans anymore. And for me, it's a lesson that our political elites would learn. What we are going through today for me is good. It should teach us a lesson. So I'm hoping that maybe...
Hello, Prof?
Yeah, you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that with this experience, we can begin to put a one developmental strategy as a people. This thing about NDC, NPP, when they are in opposition, they see all the goodness of what we can do. They come up with all the beautiful ideas. When they get into power, they are different. We all know this. So, what will impress me will be for the key political players in this country to have a serious discussion with the nation at large for us to determine a new direction for the country's development.
Right.
And so that we can limit our overdependence on the external world.
I appreciate your time here this morning, Professor Bafo Ajimandua, CEO of the Kufuor Foundation. We also had Dr. Daniel Appiah, Political Governance and Public Administration Lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, and Professor Lord Mensah, who is a lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time here this morning. Still on the show ahead, we will be having a conversation with the GRA. Remember the tax clearance certificate we spoke about and how they're digitizing the whole process? Well, we also have the e-tax invoice. I'll be back to tell you more about that. Do stay. Thank you so much for staying on the AM show. Now, the Ghana Revenue Authority on October 1, 2022 deployed the Certified Invoicing System, commonly referred to as E-VAT. Now, this is per Value Added Tax Act 870 as amended. The E-VAT certifies every invoice issued by taxpayers in real time or near real time for revenue assurance purposes. Once again, Mr. Dominic Nab, Assistant Commissioner at the Office of the Commissioner General, is in studio, at this time with Philip Aqua, the project lead of E-VAT. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Good to have you back, Mr. Nab.
Thank you very much.
So let's start off with the basics. What is the E-VAT? Let me start with you, lead project.
So E-VAT, just as the term implies, is that it's an electronic invoicing system. So basically what we're doing is, I have a copy of the manual booklet here.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're replacing the manual booklet with an electronic invoice, in an electronic version. So basically, now when you issue invoice, you'll be issuing from an invoicing system rather than writing the manual book.
Okay.
So that's basically the snapshot and the synopsis of it.
Which means that such people should have computers.
Yes.
They should have a software.
Yes.
And because I have been to some of these big companies that do a lot of wholesaling, and this is the receipts that I get, which means that when you as GRA come, whatever they write here, permit me please.
Yes.
So what they write here, right, reflects
Correct.
On the next page,
correct.
They rip this off, they give this to me.
Yep.
And they keep this as evidence, right?
Correct.
So they don't need the computer and all that. But why is this important, even though it's going to give them more cost? Because if I'm a company owner and I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I'm not ready to buy a computer. I'm not ready to purchase a software. Why are you giving me additional costs?
Yeah, thank you very much. If you look at the manual system, writing out a receipt is actually a waste of time. So GRA, for us, we are looking at how to actually improve efficiency. So we have a research department that looks at ways by which we can actually improve upon our systems. And we think that most of our activities can be done digitally. And one is this E-VAT. Let me just say that it is not a new tax.
Right.
It is just the manual processes that we have been doing, issuing VAT. That's what we are converting into the digital, platform.
Yeah.
With this manual, system, as we have it currently, there have been a lot of abuses.
Okay.
I.e. cloning, where they are duplicated. You get it. It's very easy to duplicate it. Is that okay? Then some also use the carding system. They make sure that...
Because the pages have codes, there's a...
Oh, no, it can be done. That one can be done easily. That's the reason for which we have changed to a system where it will be very difficult to duplicate. This one, there are a lot in town. So yes, very, very fake. They issue them out, the monies don't get accounted. But remember, when it comes to VAT, it is consumption expenditure tax. It is the consumer who pays the tax, not the seller. The seller only acts as a conduit to collect the taxes, for Ghana Revenue Authority. So can you imagine you pay VAT, hoping that the VAT would actually be used to generate, create some kind of employment and developmental projects all around you. And it doesn't happen just because an individual is using it to better their lives. You get it? Then we have the carding system where they put the card in. Yeah. Is that okay? The figure they want to record to GRA is what they write. Is that okay? So here they will write the correct amount to the taxpayer. But when it comes to the duplicate, then they change the number.
The amount. So the VAT on it is lesser than what they had written. Okay. And they'll keep the difference between what they collected and what
so it ends up in their pockets.
Yeah, exactly. But you see, beyond that, we are also looking at a situation where we are going to actually improve upon what we call the refund systems. The VAT works with what we call an input-output mechanism, where your input tax that you pay on VAT is refunded, it's deducted from the output. The difference is what you pay. In some cases, they get refund. Now, with this system, we are able to see it real time, how much actually we owe you and how much can actually be given to you. So it is better, with this system, because at the end of the day, we don't have to even go and do any audit. We can sit in the comfort of our offices and be able to determine how much is due you. You get it. And then again, when it comes to even reporting by the taxpayer, it is very easy to just pick the information from the data and report to GRA. Yeah. Again, it is also possible that you can even lose your data as a taxpayer. When you come to our office, we can easily retrieve it. Exactly.
But so, if this gets burnt or...
Exactly, yeah.
That ends the story.
In the flat.
You get it. Right. That ends the story. So actually, we are looking at a benefit for both GRA and for the taxpayer as well.
Right. Philip, I hear you're rolling the faces.
Yes.
Help us understand.
All right. So we identified 50 taxpayers for the first phase, the initial phase of the project. And they cut across different sectors. So we identified some from commerce, manufacturing, and service. And we've rolled out currently to about 27 of them that are live, currently operating and issuing invoices. The remaining are different and varying stages of the integration. And so the plan is by end of 2024, we'd have rolled out to all VAT registered taxpayers in the country.
Right, by the end of 2024?
Yes.
Which is 2 years away.
2 years away, yeah.
Right.
Because we have a wide taxpayer population.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do people come up to you to apply for this? How exactly does the process work?
So we have a 3-stage process, and we give the contact numbers later on. So the first thing we're doing is we are rolling out in phases, and we've identified taxpayers based on sectors. So we identify those taxpayers, and then we invite them to a workshop. We sensitize them on this, on how the system works, And then we engage them by appointing relations mandate for each and every single taxpayer. So, and then we start the onboarding process. Once
do you have the human resource for that?
We do. Wow. We do. Because the entire integration process doesn't take long. So within 2-3 days, you should have been onboarded onto the system. Then the relationship manager can move on to another taxpayer. So once we finish the first phase, we move on to the next phase, which is the medium-sized taxpayers. And then after that, we go to the the small and all other taxpayers as well. And that we are hoping to finish by end of 2024.
All right, so what does this mean? The last time you came, people were supposed to get an application. Is that the same for this one? Do people need an application, or they need you to install a certain software on their devices?
Yeah, there are some taxpayers who already are using their systems. Okay. So that is very easy for us because we are integrating their system into ours. Okay. So the two can actually communicate to each other. Those who do not have, then we provide them what we call the free certified invoicing system. So they can have that one and be able to. But that would require having a mobile phone, a smart mobile phone, a laptop or a desktop, as it were.
Okay, and then they are able to put on the free invoicing software there, and then they can work. Correct. Do they need to scan their products, or they can input manually into the system to give them this beautiful electronic printout that you've brought as an example?
Right. So as he rightly said, if you have your own invoicing system, you will have your stock in there. So the scanning process doesn't change. If you don't have your own info, we provide you with the free invoicing system, then you have to load the inventory into your system. The scanning is just the output, which is where the interface with the customer. So the system that you use will allow you to scan. But the connection to our system basically is seamless, and it allows you to, when you issue the invoice, to connect to our system, which allows you to issue the invoices seamlessly. Yeah.
Right. So, Mr. Nab, you were in Kumasi, or your men are still in Kumasi, in some shops there, invigilating sales, ensuring that they are recording what is being bought so that they can get the right tax for that. I believe this is also to address the same issue. So are we duplicating efforts here?
All right, thank you very much. The invigilation essentially is actually a compliance tool that we have been using over the years. Just to ensure that the data that the taxpayers will bring to us at the end of the day actually corroborates what we have. So with the invigilation, we put our staff on the premises of taxpayers. They don't interfere in any activity of the taxpayer. They stand aside. When you buy, you make your payments. When you are going, then they call you, pick the data. And then at the end of the day, they are able to reconcile. Now, the data that is picked, we use it to assess you against the declaration that you are going to make. Now, when it comes to VAT collected in a particular month is accounted for on or before the last working day of the following month. So, for example, we are in October. So, all VAT charged for this month will be accounted for on or before the last working day of November. So, that is what it is. But again, it is not only Kumasi. In fact, we are all over the place. Just trying to see how compliant our taxpayers are. Now, permit me, with your kind indulgence, to just share with you some data that we have. In Accra, just pub and restaurants, in a particular month, I mean, in fact, I wouldn't share the name with you. The name, of course. Yeah, exactly. In June, what was actually accounted for was 755,000.
Okay.
In July was 800,000.
Okay.
In August was 1.1 million. Okay. In September, when our men and women went to do the invigilation, what we are hoping they would come and account to us is 2.8 million.
Which is almost 3 million.
Exactly. So more than 100% increase. You get it. Then you come to a Chinese restaurant, 145,000. In June, in July,
44,000.
Yes, no, 145. In July, it came to, it shot up to 154. Then in August, 171. Then in September, 551,000. Are you getting it? We are not saying that they have done anything wrong. That's not what we are saying. We have this information I get it from our invigilation exercise. We are hoping that when they come to actually account for us, these are the numbers that they should account for us. If they are unable to account, then there's something wrong.
Okay.
So let me just say that it is not a new thing that we are doing. It is something that we have been doing over the years, just to ensure that our VAT is protected. As I said earlier, when it comes to VAT, it is a consumer who is paying. The seller is only acting as a conduit to collect the VAT for us. Now, if you don't account for the VAT, what it means is that you are shortchanging the nation. So the very development that you are crying for cannot come because the money that is supposed to actually be used for that is what you are keeping.
So assuming that based on this data, these people in June, July, August shortchanged the system, then it means that the system in itself is not foolproof enough.
Exactly.
There's a missing link.
Exactly. That's the reason for which we are migrating to the electronic system. With this one, you can't do that.
Yeah.
This one has features that you cannot actually, in fact, you can't duplicate the receipts. Yeah. Is that okay? We have a way of verifying. Indeed, Commissioner General wants to actually have control over the issuers. So he has a signature that will be provided based on the linkage. So there's no way you can actually duplicate this one. And there's no way there will be any short change.
Right.
If for any reason you don't issue or we see some kind of aberration, then what we will do is that we'll just send our men to your premises to check what is happening. Yeah, otherwise call it invigilation.
Correct. Correct. And then to add to that, with this system, whatever invoices that you're issuing in real time and near real time, GRA actually sees those invoices that you're issuing. So there's no way that we will have any discrepancy as to what you have and what GRA has. Because your system is connected to Commissioner General's system. Every invoice that you issue through your till or through your sales point, Commissioner General sees it.
All right.
So there's no argument as to I've made sales of this much and then we're saying you've made sales of this.
I'm sure prior to this, those who initiated the earlier systems also were quite confident that they were going to seal the loopholes and generate enough revenue or mobilize enough revenue for us as a country. But we know how people get in these spaces. There are people who always want to find a way to beat the system. So for me as a taxpayer who goes to buy that item and pays VAT on it, I should also be concerned and vigilant. How do I ensure that the receipt being given me is genuine and I'm not being served from a different machine which will, you get me? You get what I don't want to give people ideas, but you know what I mean. Then transfer and then move items and all that. Yes. How do I determine that I'm receiving
very good question. Very good. So I'll give you a copy of this.
All right.
If you have QR code on your if you have QR code scanner on your phone, you can basically scan it.
Okay.
And when you scan the QR code, it will show you, a pop-up will come and it will show you a copy of this invoice and will indicate verified.
Okay.
And if it's not verified,
it means that I'm being issued a fake invoice. All right.
Just demonstrate it.
So let me just demonstrate it quickly. So I'm just going to scan this right here.
All right.
So right here.
First of all, show that there's nothing before.
Yep. Okay, so let's do it this way.
Yep.
If you don't mind.
Yep.
So this is what we are talking about. Let me just do this way. All right. So this is the QR code we are talking about here. So if you go to any shop and you are issued an electronic invoice or an E-VAT invoice, you should first of all see a QR code. Then what you do is that you should have that application on your phone.
Just a normal QR code.
It's scanner. Any QR code scanner. All right, so let me just show your phone to, there's nothing on the screen you can see, it's just showing my own image. So I will scan it this way. There, all right, it's not.
Just wait for a few seconds.
All right, okay. So it quickly takes you to a different portal,
and then you
track invoice, seller, buyer, you can see details, and there you have it there verified. So that's how you can also ensure that the shops you're buying from are not shortchanging government and are doing the right thing. This is very interesting.
Thank you.
All right, so that is just for you as a consumer to also help the GRA and government mobilize enough revenue. So this will be issued to us normally, just like we go and we just buy, and then once you exchange money, this is what you should get.
Correct.
So you need to insist on getting your invoice if you go to purchase anything. Because
and then I would like to add to that. We will be introducing a raffle program as well, so that we encourage consumers who purchase from taxpayers who have VAT taxpayers who onboarded onto the E-VAT system, so that they will have the opportunity to win prizes when they scan and they verify the invoices.
All right, and this is all in a bid to get the government more money to embark on the projects that it says it will embark on. So how do I, as a business, request to voluntarily join the E-VAT system?
Yeah, so I mean, as he rightly pointed out earlier, we have a timeline that we are working with, but if for any reason you want to actually get connected to our system, we have a dedicated staff who would actually help you be able to do that easily.
So we will put out the number shortly for you to call. But are there any penalties? I know you said you're rolling this out in phases, but if by the deadline people have not migrated onto the E-VAT system or integrated it into their systems, are there any penalties to some?
No, the fact of the matter is that if you are a VAT registered person, you are supposed to issue the manual.
Yeah.
Now we are migrating the manual to the electronic. If you don't, that is actually an offense against the nation for which you are going to actually be punished. Some are where you have to pay some monies. In some cases too, where you have to actually be jailed or both. Is that okay? But we don't just want to get there. In fact, we have taxpayers who are actually very compliant when it comes to some of these things. And I don't think that would ever get there.
So with the book, I see that there is at least something here, the GRA, to indicate that this is coming from you. It is certified. But for the electronic system, we need to go onto our phones and scan, and then we get the verified. What do I do if I don't see that verified?
There will be a pop-up that will ask you to enter some few details, the taxpayer that issued that invoice and your phone number.
Okay.
And then we'll pick it up from there.
All right.
But either way, whether the invoice is verified or not, the raffle program that we talked about, you will be entered into the raffle program.
All right. But it means that I'll need to input the name of the shop, and then GRA officials will follow up.
Exactly.
And then you know.
We'll just get the information out there and then quickly we follow up.
All right. So contacts for enquiries and other, complaints.
So you can share it.
So taxpayers or those who want to contact us can contact us on 0800 900 110. And we have general contact center numbers as well, 020 926 7047, 020 926 7048, 020 926 7049. And then you can also contact us on our WhatsApp number, 055 299 0000, 055 299 0000.
Right. And I want to believe that once we fully migrate to the electronic system, you stop producing this as well.
Exactly.
All right. Well, what if there are some in the system, and you know how these things happen? Maybe somebody will say, I have the system, it's giving me problems, so I did it partially. What do I do if the system is down and I have a booklet?
As soon as you are migrated, all these ones will be retrieved from you.
Will be retrieved?
Yes, because you can't use them.
But what if the system fails?
The system, okay, well, the project lead.
Because, I'm dealing with an ECG problem currently.
Right.
When the system had a disturbance, it looks like everything has gone haywire.
Right.
So once you're scrapping the manual system altogether, what happens?
No, that's a very good question. In fact, what we've done is we envisage that this will happen, right? That there could be the possibility that taxpayer system will go down or our system will go down. So what we've done is we have allowed taxpayers to operate offline.
Okay.
Right, and still be connected to the GRA system.
Great.
So that on a 24-hour basis, they can operate without going online, even if their system is down, right? And then when they reconnect all the data that they've basically they have and loaded onto their system will then be sent to Commissioner General. So that's the provision that we've made to allow for those taxpayers whose system goes down.
Right. So if you have any questions, any enquiries, any complaints, do reach out to the GRA on the numbers that have been advertised. Well, Dominic Knapp, Assistant Commissioner at the Office of the Commissioner General, thank you once again for joining us, and Philip Aqua, Project Lead, E-VAT. Well, I'm sure we will be seeing you here again for more introduction on what the GRA is doing to help revenue mobilization. But next on the show, we'll be talking to Ace Medical Insurance and Z&Z Limited. They were part of our broadcast sponsors for the just ended National Science and Maths quiz. I know the school Mr. Nab went to go to. Philip, where did you go to?
St. John's.
High school. St. John's. St. John's?
Yes.
St. John's is in Takoradi?
Yes, in Takoradi, that's
okay.
right.
Did you feature this time?
I think we did, but we...
All right, better luck next time. Well, do stay with us. We'll be back. You're still in the NSMQ mood, yes. The quiz is over, but we need to appreciate those who made it possible for us to bring it to you live here on the JoyNews channel. Ace Medical Insurance is one of such companies, and Esther Mamli Chato is Corporate Comms Officer for Ace Medical Insurance, and Justice Nanevi is Head of Technical at Ace Medical Insurance. You're welcome. Since we're talking about the NSMQ, let me start by asking you which high school you went to. Oh, Blair B. Yeah, the guys who got the whipping, it was too bad. It was too bad. We had, we had the support here because one of our directors is actually a Blair B.
Oh, but we hope to come back stronger next year.
All the best. And Esther, you went to
Ola Girls. Ola Girls Who?
Ola Girls Who? Yeah. Okay. Oh, you too. That
We'll make it next year.
All right. Okay. So let me ask you what Ace Medical Insurance is all about.
Okay. So we are a private health insurance company. We provide medical. We provide medical services to families and organizations, and we also provide third-party administrative services.
Okay. Right. So how does one get onto the insurance scheme?
So with that, you pay a token, we avail to you a policy. And with the policy covers you visiting the hospital, both inpatient and outpatient. That's the kind of visits where you just go and come back. And the ones where you go on admissions or surgeries and all that, it covers medications, the labs, the investigations, all the investigations here. So we avail a particular amount to you. We give you our card. When you visit the facilities, they bring the claims to us and we pay on your behalf.
All right. I know what insurance companies do is to offer different policies because not everybody is within the same economic bracket. What does Ace Medical Insurance offer in that regard?
So it's the same. So for both our the corporate packages, the packages for the organizations, as well as for the families, we have I think five levels of cover, right? So each level with the benefits and then the associated premiums as well. So that depending on the package that you are comfortable with, and then you go for that one.
How are the premiums paid? Monthly, yearly, quarterly?
So typically with insurance, the ideal situation is the annual premium, right, in advance. So one bulk sum in advance because there's an investment component that's also part of insurance. However, we also admit and accept, we appreciate that sometimes the one-time payment at the start is a bit difficult for some clients. So we can agree on some payment terms up to quarterly payment terms, for instance, depending on the amount of the premium we are talking about.
Interesting. When it comes to insurance, people usually shy away because they think insurance companies take a lot of money. So I just want to give you the opportunity to address those concerns. If somebody is watching us and says, hey, I wish I could be on an insurance, but I don't have the money. How much do I need to be on Ace Insurance medical insurance?
So you know, comparatively, right, when you compare how much you spend on insurance, for instance, to how much you are likely to spend paying for your healthcare out of pocket, you'd realize that generally it's higher the other way around. Insurance, the principle that insurance works with is that we are pulling the small sums together, right, to offer higher benefits to the members. Exactly, when the need arises. So it is rather, when you do the analysis, the long-term analysis, you realize that it is rather cheaper to go for insurance and safer to go for insurance rather than waiting and then keeping money to cater for your healthcare. Essentially, you don't even know how much you are going to spend on the healthcare. So whatever you are keeping, you are not certain it's going to cover for the total healthcare cost. So anyone who is interested in joining the insurance can speak to us. We are ready to make an arrangement for that person, for the families.
Tailor-made,
Exactly, for the families, for the
and
organization.
it's actually less expensive than you think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just get
All
to
right.
us.
I mean, at the end of this, we'll put out the numbers and ways that people can inquire more about ACE medical insurance. But your slogan says the new face of healthcare financing. What are you doing differently?
Okay, so for ACE, we are leveraging ICT, right, to make access to healthcare as seamless and convenient as possible to our members. And what we believe in is that in an attempt to get a cure for an illness, right, that attempt shouldn't make you more sick. So you shouldn't go through so much stress to get a cure. You're already sick. So what we do is we have a number of ICT tools, right, that make the whole process very seamless, right from membership onboarding to when you become a member, support services that you get. If you have a complaint, getting it to us and getting it resolved, getting your concerns addressed, right to actually assessing care at a facility. There are tools we have that will enable you to even get health care either in totality, right, or a part of it at the comfort of your office or home. So you can have access to telemedicine on ACE. You have access to what we call pharmacy on wheels. So you can get your prescribed medicines delivered to you as a member at no delivery charge, right, at the comfort of your home or your office. So we are very passionate about this in an attempt to make sure that you get healthcare very, very stress-free.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah, we also have an app where our members could go on the app, check the nearest hospitals or facilities they can visit.
That are on ACE medical insurance.
Their utilizations, and even when they don't have their card, there's an electronic card they can.
I love the sound of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes it's difficult.
Yeah.
Especially if you travel to a lot of places to keep all your cards, you may leave it in one bag. You know how we go, ladies. Oh, let us in that bag. I have an emergency.
Exactly.
I need to visit. And they're like, okay, where's your insurance card? I'm like, I don't have it on me at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. Quickly, you won the best emerging private health insurance brand at the recent CIIG Awards. So what's the way forward? And should we look forward to seeing you win more of these prizes, obviously with all these innovations?
Yes. We are just beginning, and our plan is to become the recognized healthcare provision company here in Ghana. Yeah, so this is we are just starting. Very soon we'll be there. We are going to win the best brand. Yeah.
Interesting. But quickly though, Justice, tell us why you decided to be part of the NSMQ story this year.
Okay, so as a health insurance company, you'd agree that even though we are not directly involved in the provision of healthcare, right, our activities are pivoted around healthcare. So naturally, anything that we see as promoting the science and maths education in Ghana, we are interested in forming an association with it. And NSMQ, I mean, it's a program that it's making the study of science and maths very interesting. It's making it attractive. Subjects that they are studying hitherto were considered boring, were considered not fun. But now there's a lot of interest in science and maths, and that is partly because of NSMQ. So we feel it's a good brand to be associated with. Plus, it has a wide reach. So associating with NSMQ gives us the opportunity to do something we're already passionate about. That's one, and also get our brand as well out there. So that's basically it.
And that's one of the reasons you're here this morning. Thank you so much for joining us, Justice.
Thank you too for having us.
Esther Mamle Jato is corporate comms at Ace Medical Insurance, and Justice Nanevi is head of technical at Ace Medical Insurance. So quickly, numbers put out, people can reach you.
Oh, okay. Our number is 055-271-275. Also 0556-778-903, 0556-778-906, 0556-778-907. So you can also visit our website, www.acemedinsurance.com. You can send us a mail at info@acemedinsurance.com.
AceMed, MED, insurance.com. All right, we will do that. Okay, quickly, when we return from this short breather, we'll be hearing from another sponsor of our broadcast of the National Science and Maths Quiz, Z&Z Limited Company. Do stay. Thank you for staying. Zoe Jasmine Rice and Zion Long Grain Rice are premium products on the rice market with long, clear, and silver-free grains. The cooked rice has, is very soft and has a sweet and pineapple flavor to it. Yes, you heard me right, pineapple flavor. It's especially appealing and requires less water and less cooking time. After the rice has cooled, you can still get the fragrance, and it's still soft. You don't have that with a lot of rice on the market. Well, the MD for Z&Z, so that's Zion and Zoe, or Zoe and Zion Company Limited, Salifu Niarabra. I hope I mentioned it right.
This morning, so you eat Z&Z rice. Which of them did you eat?
I got it right?
Yes. Okay. That's what I'm asking, because you find it difficult to.
A lot of people find it difficult to mention your name.
Yes.
Right,
so
right, but I got it. Thank you.
I'm sorry this morning you have taken Z&Z rice.
I'm yet to.
Because when you take that rice, your throat and voice, whatever, is so soft in the manner that you can pronounce every name in this world. Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Right. Tell us more about. I mean, we've heard about the fact that it's soft. It still has the fragrance. It has a pineapple flavor to it. But what other benefits come with Z&Z rice?
Okay, so apart from the pineapple flavor and some other listen that you mentioned, we also have it as when you eat Z&Z rice, also control your diabetes and some other things that you can think about for health-wise.
Really?
Yes, please.
And how is that? Why is that?
Oh, it's quite like, you see, every product comes with its importance. And that is one of the qualities of Z&Z. Yes.
So, I mean, so that's a reason why people should buy the products, the fact that it has less cooking time and all that.
Yes. Z&Z rice, or let's say Zion and Zoe rice, happen to be the rice that has won a lot of awards worldwide. So we have found out that this rice, with their level, have something to play in human life. And for that matter, we must also bring that rice to our good people of Ghana, so that they will also benefit the kind of rice that every other person is eating around the world.
Right. What's the difference between Zoe and Zion rice?
Zoe and Zion rice. Zion rice have the long grains, whilst that of Zoe rice is 5% broken. That is just the difference.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you're looking to do your emutuo and other stuff that will require that you drive the rice, then you can use the the Zoe rice, but the Zion is long grain.
Long grain.
So for your jollof and your wachi and your...
for amuto and any other rice that you want to use it for. Some other people go for white rice.
Okay.
Other people don't also like white rice. These are just perfumed rice that you can use it for amuto. You can use other Zion rice for amuto. You can use Zoe rice for amuto. Any other this that you want to use it for. When it comes to jollof, it comes to whatsoever, you can use it for.
Right.
Yes.
So what makes your product unique on the market?
Uniqueness for our products is numerous, but I will just mention few. You know, this product or this Zion or Zoe rice that we are talking about here, it has something to do with, you know, when some other rice, when you are cooking, it takes a lot of water and it takes a lot of time for cooking. Which this rice, clearly when you are cooking, less water cooking, less time when it comes to, let's say probably you are here thinking about you want to come to work and you have to prepare something for your kids and whatsoever. You know, some other rice, when you put them on pot, it takes a lot of time before they become eatable or whatsoever for you. But for this rice, as soon as you put it, it doesn't take time. And more or less like less water consumption before.
I'm interested in the pineapple flavor.
Yes.
Why does rice have a pineapple?
See, this thing a lot of people are wondering. Was it last week or last 2 weeks? A lot of people call me. One from OEB. They call her, I think, what's the name? The name is not coming. What she was saying is that, I know, you know, she requested a number of bags for me to be given. And I said, okay, fine. What I do normally is that I give you the sample to go and try. If you are okay with it, you yourself request. So I send samples to her and she cook. Around her shop, people were just asking, where did you get this rice? What kind of rice is this? This or this? So, and I said, okay, don't worry, this is what I want you to confirm. So you have confirmed that I'm giving you the best rice, not just any other ordinary rice, but the best rice for your customers. They will go and come back. And that is Zoe and Zion rice.
Right. So where's your company located? You said someone called you. So where's your company located? The numbers are on the screen.
Yes, our company is located at Ashama Builders Wall building.
So that's where people can come and pick. Or do you do deliveries?
We do delivering. We do delivering for all over the country, every corner, and it's free delivery. Even when you buy one bag, we will deliver to you.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Just as yesterday we left here, attend your sister station, Joy Prime, we have sent over 1,500 bags. That is the reason why you didn't see my other boy here.
Colleague.
Yes, who is supposed to be part of this interview, but he's not here because
he's doing business. There's so much business coming.
As soon as he left yesterday, people were calling here and there, and they have to move some of the rice to Kumasi.
But most importantly, tell us why you decided to be a part of the National Science and Maths Quiz, broadcasting it.
You see, this National Science and Maths Quiz is one of the things that we cherish most. In the sense that, you know, we have people who look up to others. And what are the way forward? It's education. Okay. So through National Science and Maths Quiz, the young ones that are coming, inspire them. That is the reason why we said, okay, fine, we have to also contribute for the smoothness and then the future benefit of our education in this country.
That's a very nice thing to do. Thank you so much for doing it.
Yes.
So, your final words to people who are wondering, those who are on the edge, should I get Z and Z rice?
So thank you very much to JoyNews and the people who watch JoyNews, and then our customers, most especially the consumers of Zion and Zoe rice. We entreat you that we are not giving you any ordinary rice by the quality rice. We will not fail you today. Your, what's the name? Your how will I put it? I'm trying to put it in a way that your concern is our priority. And then we are going to work with you with integrity. We are going to work with you with happiness. When you bring your grievances, we'll make sure that we address them. Because any company that is ready to develop must listen to the customers. Without the customers, you cannot go far. So we put you first. Anything at all that you eat Zion rice and you think you have any problem, you should let us know.
All right.
And we'll address that for you.
Okay.
Thank you very much for our cherished customers and then the consumers of Z&Z Company Limited. We'll continue to serve you until you say you are tired. We will never be tired.
Thank you very much. So your feedback is welcome. Salifu Niarabria. Did I get it right the second time?
You got it right.
Okay, it's MD for Z&Z Limited, Z&Z Company Limited, and they are importers of the Zoe and Zion rice. But hello Ghana, happy moment is here. Let's storm World Cup Qatar 2022 with Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks, and Awake Drinking Water from Kasafre Company Limited. Simply buy your favorite Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks, and Awake Drinking Water. Text the 4-digit unique number on the neck of the bottle to short code *780#option 2 and follow the prompt on all networks for free. Be one of the lucky winners to this year's World Cup in the monthly draw. You can also win TVs, fridges, microwave ovens, mobile phones, home theaters, free drinks, and more instantly. Please don't waste time. Grab a bottle of Storm Energy Drink, Puma Soft Drinks, and Awake Drinking Water, and let's storm Qatar this World Cup. This promotion is on the NLA Caritas platform, and this advert is FDA approved. Remember, terms and conditions apply. And that's how we end this edition of the AM Show. Thank you so much for your company. We are really grateful that you can make time to watch us today and the entire week. God willing, we are back on Monday with good content for you. And you always know we put you first and we bring you what matters to you. So from Brace, myself, and the entire team, we wish you the very best of the rest of the week. Do stay. News Desk is up next.